Yeah.
Welcome
All
to
right.
the Minority.
It still sounds like shit, but that's okay. Let's push through it, shall we?
Keep it moving.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We're having technical problems here in our fancy home studios. Go figure.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Usually the Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve is a seamless production.
I say, even with flaws, we're still flawless. You know, what's that? I love all your perfect imperfections, Nick. That's just how I feel about you. So
I feel the same. And Brewski, well, we'll talk later.
Right.
How is everybody today? Here we are, the Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve, September 19, 2022 recording edition.
Number 4, episode number 4. And Nick, I'm used to hearing you gargle, and that's a whole other story, though. So if you cut in and out, it's all right.
You're used to hearing it? Am I still doing it?
No. Just making double entendres.
Not even getting to enjoy it, dude.
We were garbled a little there at the beginning, but now we're fine. So don't worry about it. Here's the thing I realized: no one will know if any errors are on our end, or if when they're listening back, their device might be lagging or gargling. So I say just ignore it, push through it. We're fine. All right, it's the Vocal Minority back for episode number 4, broadcasting from Lake Tahoe, California. Here, Nick's in Seattle, Washington, in 1996, and Brewski's in Boston. So we're spanning the country as always. And
spanning the globe.
Right. Yeah, we're doing it upright today. Let's just cover what we're going to go over on the show today, because last weekend we had a online dating expert on. We went over a lot of information. You can catch it on the last episode, but there was a promise that she would come back today and
there's that gargling.
Over closely, correct?
Yeah. So we've got 2 guests coming on today. We've got Julie Spira coming back on. She's going to critique my online dating profiles, and that should be both embarrassing and fun, hopefully for everyone. Not for me, of course, but hopefully for all of you. And she had given me homework to go to a practice date. So I did that, and we're going to discuss that as well.
Well, good for you that you got one that quick. That's great.
Oh, dude, I got them lining up. I mean, come on.
Oh, all right.
Somewhat. But yeah, no, I mean, I put my hook in the internet dating pool, and, we got some nibbles. So yeah, I did a practice coffee day. We can talk all about that later. And then I couldn't even
get a chick to call me back. Gave her my phone number, and she said, well, I'm at home really sick with COVID. And I was like, all right. And I said, well, you can, how about, we text a little bit. And she's like, well, maybe when I'm feeling a little bit better. Okay, even if you're in bed sick with COVID, you can text if you really want to.
Dude,
so
that's crazy.
There are so many games going on in online dating with ghosting and limited connection, and I'm serious and I'm not serious. I mean, it is such a pain in the ass. So I feel you. I feel you. Yeah. I had one woman, we'd been chatting, and then I got the guts. I was like, hey, maybe we should meet for a cup of coffee or a glass of water. And she writes back like, oh, a glass of water. That's so funny. And then I haven't heard from her since.
You heard from other people, however, that were even stranger than that. Are you able to talk about that text you received from some weird EDM girl?
I don't know if she was EDM. Are you talking about the suicide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I had a woman who her profile said she was sober, and I actually referenced her last week about saying like sober. That's kind of, oof, like not even Super Bowl. We can't have a beer. And we were just casually chatting back and forth. And then all of a sudden, days go by, and she messages me, and she's like, you want to meet me in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, and do some naked sunbathing? And I'm like, wait, what? Like, we were just chatting, and now all of a sudden it's, let's drive a 6-hour round trip in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, and go naked sunbathing. And I was like, well, you got my attention. Let's keep talking. But then she disappeared for hours. Then she came back late at night with incoherent texts that referenced an Imagine Dragons song about addiction and suicide. I thought the woman was going to kill herself. And then,
oh boy,
the next day she was back and just like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, are you really sober? She's like, I am now. I'm like, 12 hours? Like, so yeah, it's crazy.
She fell off the wagon.
She did. So
did you lose her number? I mean, you're done with her, right?
I didn't have her number. She tried to call me once, and I tried calling her when I thought she was going to kill herself. But that's all through the app, so I don't have her actual phone number. So who knows?
What app is that?
That's Bumble. That was that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're going to talk to Julie. We'll get an update on all that stuff. And then we have a guest who's actually in our lobby, in our waiting room here. He's ready to go.
Okay.
So why don't we set him up? We'll do this interview. We'll probably just need to jump in with Julie right after that, and then we can all do our chit chatting and shenanigans later after that. Does that sound good?
It sounds fantastic, dude. Let's do this. This next guest I'm really excited for. I think Brewski this is the guest that's going to talk to us about the Alexa, the phones listening to us, correct?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So we've got a cybersecurity expert coming on because this has come up a lot. It came up on the show a week ago, but it comes up in my life all the time about, our phones spying on us. We know that our phones do, but how far does it really go on you? Is it really eavesdropping? Is it just, what is it? So this came up last week, and I've got this, I've got Alex Hamerstone from TrustedSec.com coming on. So I don't know. I got some questions for the guy, and I figured we'd just kind of see what the real scoop is as far as how much your phone's spying.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, dude. And it's obviously a question over at our household a lot. But are we bringing not only phones into this, but like Alexa and Google devices, stuff like that? Are we covering the whole gamut?
Yeah, I put it all under the same umbrella because Siri's on my phone. I'd like to know how much she's really listening, and Alexa and all that stuff. So, yeah, so whatever. Cybersecurity, it's what's spying on us and what's the good and the bad and etc. So.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's bring our guest in. We can all say hello to him.
I refuse.
All right. This is a fun part of Zoom. It's the old days we had producers answering phones. So, all right, Alex, are you there?
Hey, how's it going?
All right.
Hey,
Alex, welcome to the Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. It's great to have you on the air with us today, dude.
It's a pleasure to be on.
Very good. We were just talking about this. That first of all, this is Alex Hamerstone with Trusted Sec. TrustedSec.com. Is that the correct website for you, Alex?
That's correct.
All right. So we're always talking about this. Like, we know our phones spy on us, quote unquote, but to what extent and what are the good, the bad, and all that kind of stuff. So we brought you on here. You're a designated cyber expert. Can you tell us, I guess, what your background is so we know we can trust your trusted answers?
Sure. So currently I work as an information security consultant for a company called Trusted Sec. I've been there close to 10 years. We work with organizations to help them assess and build information security programs. So we have a lot of what we think of as ethical hackers, people that break into systems under contract, and then help organizations kind of fix the problems they saw. Prior to that, I worked for a software startup for a number of years in security and compliance roles. And before that, I was also in security consulting. So I've been around the industry a while, worked with a lot of clients from sole proprietorships to multiple members of the Fortune 50.
Nice. Right on. All right. So, yeah, Alex, I guess try to answer me in, I guess, general terms. Like, are our phones spying on us, quote unquote?
Absolutely all the time, but probably not in the ways that most of us think, right? Spying is kind of a loaded word.
Yes.
And so when you think of spying, you're probably thinking of, something maliciously listening to you without your permission. And all that's possible. Somebody could install something on your phone or what have you. In general, most of the spying is with our implicit permission because we're signing away our rights all the time with these user agreements. And I think people would be absolutely blown away if they knew just how much information is out there about each of us.
Yeah, those security agreements or the rules of whatever. Am I really supposed to read those things?
So that's a great question. I guess technically yes, but there was a performance art piece a few years ago where somebody printed out all the end user license agreements from some of the most common sites and services that we use, and just to see it visually, the number of pages. And if you were to try to read all those, I forget the exact numbers, but they kind of calculated how long it would take somebody.
Yeah.
And even if you can understand and interpret all the legalese, just the amount of time to read all that is pretty much impossible for any of us.
Right. It's kind of a joke almost. Like we have to click to agree upon it, but none of us are going to really read it. So none of us truly understand what we're agreeing to.
That's true. Although there are organizations out there, nonprofits that do look through those things and study them and hopefully raise the alarm for anything that's really egregious. But I hate to tell you, the longer I'm on the consumer side of this business, is people just don't care. People just really aren't that worried. I like to say, would you spend more on a product, the exact same product from an organization that really valued your privacy or not? Right. I mean, it reminds me a lot of airlines. Everyone complains about the narrow seats. They're too short. I'm 6'3", so I hate it. But when the airlines offer, bigger seats for more money, nobody buys them, right? So it's kind of the same thing. What people say they want and what their actions look like tend to really be the opposite.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like people care as much as they should until it's too late, right? Until they've been hacked, and then maybe they'll, have a different practice about what they go with, how much they'll pay for their security. I've been there. I definitely treat it more serious now because I have been hacked, and it sucks.
Yeah, but even beyond being hacked, like for me on Facebook, I know there's a way for me to shut off them following me, but as soon as I do that, then they're not recommending videos they know I would like or, targeted ads that I actually want. So I don't know, Alex, should we care? Should it just be like, I'm one of a zillion points of data they have?
That's a tough question, and really anything in our digital lives, it really is an exercise in, is it worth it, right? Even think about the connected devices in our homes. For some people, for me, I love that the dryer alerts my phone when it's finished, right? Because stuff comes out hot. You can hand iron it, saves you some trouble, right? But other things that people connect to the internet really for no reason, are you really getting a benefit out of it? And it's the same thing with social media, right? There a recent case where somebody was, I believe, murdered, in a restaurant because they had posted their location on social media, and they were had some expensive items on or things like that. So you just have to ask yourself, is it worth it to share this information for the benefit that I get? I can't answer that for anyone.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Nick's talking about getting hacked, and I'm just talking about regular, surfing Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Are you any more likely to get hacked by somebody, up to no good if you are agreeing to these terms and services, or are those two different categories?
That's a complicated question. I could probably talk for a few hours on it.
Yeah.
And it really depends, right? I mean, the more information that we're giving out, the more information that hackers can use to target us. Obviously there are cases, if you're a public figure or, a certain situation, somebody may come directly after you. But a lot of times the hacking and the scamming is a numbers game. So they'll send the same, fake text message to a million people. My mother-in-law was actually here today, and she asked me if something was a scam, and it was from a bank she doesn't use. I'm like, well, probably it's a scam, right? But if you send that to a million people, then some percent are going to actually bank there.
Right.
So it really depends. But as I said, just the amount of information out there that leads people to think they're being spied on, it's usually because you already gave them the information they needed to make that connection.
Right. I've wondered that sometimes on Facebook. Like, let's say I was just talking about taking a trip to Mexico, and then a few days later I see an ad. Was it really eavesdropping, or am I just in an algorithm where they know I went to Mexico once? It's been a few years now, so it's just sort of a coincidence that they're predicting me.
So a couple ways to answer that. One of the things you got to keep in mind, there's some confirmation bias to it. So you may see 10,000 ads in a week, and 2 of them are related to things you talked about, right? And we ignore the rest of the ads, right?
They stand out though, because I feel I talked about it.
They stand out. And it's gosh, I'd have to look, but it was a long time ago. There was an article, called, does Facebook know you're pregnant before you do, right?
Yeah.
Because it was a case where, somebody's father got really angry because his daughter was getting ads for baby products, and it turns out she was actually pregnant, right? And they don't necessarily know how they know, but it's just they can start to take these pieces of data, right? I mean, there's some simple things like, hey, you got married a year ago and you bought tickets, for a honeymoon a month ago, maybe you're pregnant, right? They can make that association.
Yep.
And so, there are a lot of ways that they can start to piece together information and really get a whole picture about you.
Well, so then let me ask the big question we've all been asking. Is your phone, is Siri or Alexa, are they actively eavesdropping, and do they take keywords to send for ads or whatever it is? Is that a thing?
If you give them permission. So there's a lot of things in the settings, generally no, especially to those specific kind of digital assistants, they do have to be listening, right, to catch the keywords.
Yeah.
And there have been various stories, about how much that information is retaining and things like that. But in general, and there's a big, a big qualifier to it. The answer is no, right? I mean, they don't need to, right? So why would you have this huge scandal of spying on millions of people when you don't need to? Because people will just give you all the information you need as a marketer. They'll just give it right to you.
Right. Nick, was it Nick or Bruce? Which one of you were telling me the story about the people that, have a job listening and it leads to depression and all that? Who was that?
I did. That was when I worked at Verizon.
So what was it?
So they have this room where they have people who monitor content, and they had a sign on the door on the outside of it that said that if you went in there, you would possibly see nudity or violence and objectionable, something that someone might find objectionable, and that they actually had people in there who monitored all this content, and that they had mandatory counseling sessions at certain times, and that sort of thing, and that they had a lot of problems
because they were actively listening to. Was it when people were asking Alexa something, or are you saying that Alexa was just recording and they were listening to the raw recordings?
No, it was internet. It was internet
just content on the internet. It wasn't listening to people, but that's a whole different. That's a whole different thing. Steve, I mean, you heard from somebody that their daughter had a job that actually listened to people from Alexa and transcribed or translated. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah. So I just met a woman whose daughter is bilingual, had lived in Europe. So she was saying, Alex, that her job, she's in Spain, and she listens to Alexa recordings in Spanish to translate better into English for the coders so they can interpret Spanish better. But she's listening to, is any of this sound accurate, true? Are people really doing any of this?
So oftentimes with a story like that, what it is that you can voluntarily share your information, right? So I may choose to, allow a service like Amazon or somebody else to use my recordings to create a better user experience. And people are oftentimes compensated for that or given free products, right? I mean, that's how a lot of, translation or localization happens, that people are willing to give samples. It's a little bit analogous to, when you're installing something on your phone or computer and it says, do you want to share crash data, with Apple or something like that. But generally, again, is it possible? Yes. But really, you think about these multi-billion-dollar corporations, they have so much information about us. They have all your purchasing history, right. Think about all your shopper cards at the supermarket. Think about all the things that you're using a credit card for. Think about all the things you search, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Now, one thing that's kind of fascinating is if you just email a picture of, let's say, a bicycle to yourself, you'll start getting bike ads, right? Because you're giving them permission by using that free email program to look at your images and kind of see what's in there. But again, it comes down to people just giving up their privacy.
Right. I want to point out how disturbing what Alex just said is. He's basically saying they don't need to sit there and eavesdrop on you because they have all the data they need already. So if you're worried about them eavesdropping, he's saying that's the least of your concerns. They know everything about you already. They don't need to pay someone to sit there and listen to you. So sleep better at night.
The only real issue of all of this that I'm curious or very curious about is I watch a lot of like crime documentaries and crime TV. And now here's the case where like if I have a suspect, I can go get a warrant, right, to track their phone or see who they've been calling, see their text messages. Can they do that with Alexa and Google to listen to these people in their home if they got a warrant for it?
So that's a specific legal question. I'm not sure. I believe they'd be able to subpoena records, though. You see it all the time in court cases where they bring up the search history.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're planning a crime, I'm not encouraging crime, but maybe don't encourage bury a body, right? Because they're going to go back and see that. I think people forget that everything that you do online is tracked and available. And again, it's not some conspiracy. It's well known and something that people are agreeing to with these services. But to your specific example, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to imagine, in some issue of national security that they could turn your Alexa or something into a
microphone
with the proper court permissions. But I'm not sure about that one.
What about the notion that hackers can take over your camera and see you?
So that's absolutely possible as well. So the best advice I can give you on that one is electrical tape or something like that, right? I mean, because you can't defeat electrical tape with there's it's been out for a while, but I think it was Mark Zuckerberg was being interviewed for something a few years ago, and he had a piece of tape over his camera, right? Wow. I mean, but yes, and again, it's if you think about it, we're using our computers right now, and we have the camera turned on. And so anything that software can do by that you want it to do, then a hacker can generally also make it do if you don't want it to. Now, I'm not to say that's common or it's simple, but a lot of the times when you're downloading free software or doing certain things, you may be giving those permissions to that software.
Yeah. I do that on my dashboard when my check engine light comes on. So I guess it has got to do with my web camera now too.
For me, it's the tire pressure.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking with Alex Hamerstone from TrustedSec.com, cybersecurity expert. We're trying to figure out to what extent is your phone, your laptop, and everything else spying on you. Alex, I've noticed of late that every website I go to now says that we use third-party cookies and you have to click accept. Should you be doing that? Is there any way around it if you don't want to do it? What are these websites collecting on us?
So generally, yes, there are a number of different types of cookies, right? Some that only follow you around for that session, some that, have a lot more persistence and will follow you around websites. There's a reason that when you go out to a certain website, you're seeing, ads based on what you searched on Facebook or what have you, right? A lot of that stuff's connected and follows you around. And not to oversimplify it, but when you start to, look at how cookies are used, it helps them to know like which website pages you've already read, right? So it's not going to suggest the same thing, or you see it kind of a different color, the link. And so again, a lot of these things, I want to choose my words carefully, but they're actually good as a user, right?
Right. They do help in a lot of ways.
Right. Would you rather see ads for stuff you might actually buy? Or ads for something you'd never buy, etc. But generally, if you don't accept cookies, your user experience across the internet is going to be a lot less pleasant. And you can use certain things like incognito mode or things on a browser for a certain site you don't want using cookies, with the huge caveat that it doesn't make you as incognito as you think. Right. But there are ways to avoid the cookies. You probably don't want to do this, but if you were to go into your browser right now and delete all your cookies, you're going to have to go log back into all these sites you're used to getting onto. You're going to lose all your, reading history and whatever else.
Is that an intentional thing? The tech companies, they almost make it too good that we want to sign up for these, cookies and tracking because there's advantages to it. Should we be like going above them and saying you should give them the advantages without tracking?
It would be tough to do though without cookies specifically, right? I mean, it's from a technical standpoint, they don't need to be nefarious, right? I mean, they really can just help the user session. It's kind of what they do when they start to track you across multiple sites that they start to get a much better picture of what you're doing.
Yeah. Most of the time when I go to a web page that says like, hey, we do cookies, accept it here. If I just keep browsing and don't even click on it, I'm not accepting, right? I'm still able to browse. So it's just not tracking me. Is that right?
In general, yes. And I said I want to be really careful how I use terms like tracking and sure. Everything else. Because you got to remember, your computer really has a footprint or a fingerprint. Even if they don't know your name or whatever it is, because it has your IP in general, the address you're coming from. It knows the operating system, what version it is. It can see what versions of other software it has. So even without your name or your email or a cookie, it can still take all those factors and get a pretty good idea of who you are and whether you've been there before or not. Yeah. Not to be fatalist and say that you can't get away from tracking, but if you don't want to be tracked, the best way is to not use any technology or probably not leave the house given all the cameras that are out there.
Right. Let me ask you that question on a practical level though. Is there a way to stop it? And even if you could, like you're saying, would it just ruin your online experience?
It would make your online experience much more difficult, right? I mean, you could theoretically, not accept any cookies and, use, not really accept any of that stuff. But you're going to be starting fresh like a new user every time you hit that site or every time you go to a different site. Yeah. And again, it really comes down to a risk management decision, right? Is the experience worth it to you to kind of give up some of that privacy and control?
Yeah.
Right. I have a question that steps a little bit aside from all of this that I've always been curious about. I think you might be able to kind of answer this, but I'm infatuated. I've never been there, but I'm infatuated with the dark web and actually what it is. first of all, is it illegal for me to go there? And second of all, is it tough to get? I wouldn't even know how to go to the dark web.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. I mean, I've heard of it, but is there a portal?
It's not. So I'm going to give the simplest answer that I can. If any of my technical friends are out there watching or listening, they're probably going to pillar me a bit for this. But in general, if you think about it, when you type in, www.website.com, it's translating that to a bunch of different numbers and everything else and directing your computer to that site. So the dark web is really just kind of a second layer or second level of the internet that you can't easily get to like that, right? You need a special browser to get to it. But all you got to do is go out and download it. And it's funny because the dark web is actually fascinating. I'll just tell you, I'm in my mid 40s. And so my early internet experience, if you go to the dark web, it looks a lot like it used to, right? Back when I started. But it really is a whole marketplace out there for things, and you can go out there and buy things. And people are always shocked, I think, by some of the professionalism of the design out there and the customer service. You can go out there and buy credit card numbers. If you want to buy credit card numbers that were stolen from a wealthy zip code, they're going to cost you more than credit card numbers stolen from a less wealthy zip code. Wow. If you want to buy, packs of data, if you want to buy someone's healthcare information plus their credit card plus, whatever else it may be, that obviously raises the price. But really, whatever you want to buy out there is available, and it's not hard to get to. And it's not illegal just to access it itself. I mean, obviously, if the site is hosting illegal content, that's much different.
Sure. Okay.
What are the security risks on the dark web? I mean, we're talking about cookies from Amazon or something. What's going on out there?
Well, so because you're operating a little bit differently, the security risk will be much higher, especially if you're downloading things or purchasing things, et cetera. It's a bit of the Wild West, that's for sure. But I think it's been made out to have kind of this mystique and be something that's really difficult to get to and inaccessible.
Yeah.
But most people could probably figure it out pretty quick with a 5-minute tutorial.
Wow.
Is it like just going to a bad part of town? Or is it a little? It's not quite as sinister as that.
Well, I don't know if I would exactly liken it to that. Because you can go to the bad part of town and there are things that might be legitimate there, right? And so I think it's like that. There are people that use it for other reasons, but in general, for the average user, if I'm talking to kind of high school kids or something, and to a class, you're probably not going to run into a lot of things that are good out there. It's probably something you can probably avoid.
Yeah, sure. I'd imagine. Let me ask you the question that I think our audience wants to know the most. Are porn sites the most dangerous thing on the normal web? And how are you supposed to protect yourself out there?
So it's actually a really interesting question. And they put in a ton of security, right? Because they have to, it's their market and they tend to have a lot of money to spend on security. And you have to remember that just like any other genre of internet sites, they're ones that are run by big corporations that, follow, laws and frameworks and everything else to protect data. And then obviously there's sites out there that are not like that, right? So it's just like any other, product. So to just say, based on it being in that genre, it's dangerous. No, it's the same as shopping sites or anything else, right? There's certainly, the big sites out there where you are, feel comfortable using your credit card or your information. But of course, with those sites, I like to think about it this way. There's information that can ruin your day or your hour, and there's information about that you can ruin your life, right? So if you have your credit card hacked, and I say this as a consumer, right? As somebody that works with businesses, I want to protect credit card data all day, of course. But as a consumer, if my credit card is hacked, it's an inconvenience at this point, right? You're generally not liable for charges or whatever else. But if somebody gets your browser history, or what if somebody got your text message history or things like that, that could make for a really uncomfortable Thanksgiving, right? I mean, people see, what you're saying about your uncle, whatever, right? Yeah. And so you start to think
get about blackmailed and stuff too, right?
Right. So I think for a lot of users, if they're signing up for those types of adult sites and that type of login information were to get out, that might cause them bigger issues personally or professionally or whatever. Then, if they shop at a certain retailer that everybody shops at and their information gets out. So there is that piece.
I gotcha.
So bigger impact.
So go with the eBay and the Amazons of the porn world. I've been wondering, I always hear the dark web people threaten that they're going to release the browsing history of Ted Cruz or something, but it never happens. Is it really that easy, or is it really that hard? Is that why it never happens?
It depends what they have. I mean, really, it's for any given individual, it really depends on, what's been breached, from the sites they use or what have you. I will tell you, one of the most common things that people kind of don't think about is what we call password reuse, right? And so if you use the same passwords across multiple sites and services, if one of those sites is breached and the hackers have your username and password that you use on some inconsequential site, and it's the same one using your banking.
Yeah.
Well, so when there's a breach and the hackers get names and passwords, from a site, they'll write a program to try that name and password combination on every bank in the country and everywhere else. And they get into tons of places. And so if they're able to get, use something like that to get into someone's, Twitter or browser or whatever else, they can start to look at the histories there.
Yep.
So you never know what they have.
That's interesting.
It's a scary world.
Let me ask you a question, Nick and I. Nick and I have an agreement. If one of us drops dead, the other has to go to their house and delete their browser history. Does that actually delete anything, or is it all still out there?
It deletes it from your browser,
right? But it's still out there on the web, right?
Right. I mean, it could be stored in multiple other places. You got to remember when you delete something from a computer, and again, this is a kind of general, you're not necessarily removing it. You're just telling the computer that you don't need that space anymore, and when it needs that space, they can use it to overwrite it. Gotcha. So if you really want to delete something, there are programs out there to kind of wipe it. To really get rid of it, you probably need to drill out that hard drive and toss it in the fire. But again, don't forget, right? It's kind of like if you and I have a 5-year-long text history, and I want to get rid of that history, and I delete it off my phone. Well, it's still on yours, right?
Right.
So same thing with your browsing history and anything like that. It may exist all over the place.
Anytime I get a new computer, I take the old hard drive out, I smash the crap out of it, and I soak it in a bathtub, and then I smash it again and throw it in the garbage. Does that cover me? Am I good enough there?
Depends. From your hard drive.
It really depends. It's one of those things that it's kind of on a spectrum. If the government really wanted to get the information off that hard drive, for a national security investigation, they could probably get it, right? But for the average user, no one's going to, use an electron microscope to look at the hard drive I took out of my computer to try to get the $41 out of my checking account, right?
Yeah. Also, what the hell are you looking at, dude? What are you doing on the internet that you go through all of that to get rid of that hard drive?
It's just that's up to me and my spirit guides. But
it's therapeutic, right?
Honestly, I mean, I'm surfing standard porn, of course, but no, I mean, just like he was saying, there's so much information you don't even think about that's on there. Buying history, credit cards you ought to. I just figure it's better to destroy the freaking thing, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, get rid of that hard drive. And most municipalities will have a service, quarterly or periodically where they'll dispose of those things and shred the hard drives or whatever it is for you.
I got you. We're talking with Alex Hamerstone, cybersecurity expert with Trusted Sec. I have one last question. I don't know if Nick and Brewski have anything else, but you mentioned this earlier, like the scam texts that we all get that have some link to click on or whatever. Now, I was always told that if you reply stop, that they legally have to stop harassing you. But then I saw some FBI, PSA the other day that said, don't reply to anything. So what should you do if you get a scam text?
Usually just delete it. The issue is yes, if you reply to a legitimate company to stop, they need to stop, right? Because there's recourse. I mean, you can sue them or whatever it is, they can be sanctioned.
Yeah.
But a criminal who wants to take your money isn't going to follow, the legislation and the regulations that, about sending text messages.
Sure. But are they getting any info by me replying?
So what they find out is that they know that somebody at the other end of that, that text message chain is a real person, and that's an active number. So when you reply stop to a scammer, you are letting them know that that's a number where they can reach somebody.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, those are all good stuff. Yes, go ahead.
And one thing that's fascinating about all the text scams is, as I said, if you're a little bit older like I am, when we first got email, it's, you'd get 100 spam messages for every you actually wanted.
Right.
And they've gotten really good at filtering that out, right? So I mean, if you go on your mail service, you're probably not seeing a lot of spam. And of course, that's made it harder for scammers and hackers. So what do? They move to your phone. They just text you instead.
Wow. Now, there you go. Nick, Brewski, we got any other questions before we say goodbye?
I think I'm covered, but fascinating information, man. I appreciate you a whole bunch for joining us today.
Yeah,
Anytime.
Alex, thank you. You've cleared up some stuff. The biggest one was, was my phone listening to me, and you pointed out, hey, it doesn't matter. It knows everything about you anyway.
Doesn't need to.
Yeah, that's a deep thought right there. So, Alex, just remind everyone, your company, how to get in contact with you, services, all that kind of stuff you guys offer.
Sure, Trusted Sec. We're an information security consulting company. We do a lot of testing and building of information security programs for companies of all sizes, really around the world.
Right on. Well, I'm sure you've got good job security with the world doing everything it's doing. So we appreciate you taking the time. If we ever have another interweb question, we'll get you back on.
Thanks so much. Everybody have a great day.
All right. Thank
you too, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
All right. So there you go. That is Alex Hamerstone, TrustedSec.com.
Fascinating stuff, dude. I mean, here's the deal. Like, it doesn't matter really. We're just all kind of screwed. If people want the information, they could get the information, you and I actually started talking about Big Brother on the original version of the show, 16, 20 back years ago. And I remember saying, like, what do I care? Like, have my information. If you want to watch me, sunbathe naked outside from a satellite, go ahead. Like, who am I? What do you care about that? But I'm not sure how I feel about that anymore. Well, now drones are flying over everywhere, dude, and we don't know how far. I mean, they don't have to be that close to you anymore. I can't remember where. I think I was out playing golf, dude. Oh, no, I was at the Dave Matthews concert, and at the Gorge, they had people flying over, and they were getting down like 5 feet from my head, like listening to conversations, taking video, whatever they wanted to do. Like, it's hard to hide unless you're in your house with no power. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough to hide today.
I just read an article recently about somebody sued Google. Yeah, they lived in some hoity-toity gated neighborhood, and they didn't want their homes being on Earth, the Earth view or the Street
Google
view.
Earth.
Yeah. And Google, their response was basically, none of us have privacy anymore. Like, we can see you from the satellite, we can see you from the street. So their legal defense was, none of us have privacy. So shut up.
Yeah. It's a new world, dude, for sure. I get in arguments with my sister over the holidays. I kept telling her when she'd come to my house, we'd be sitting there, and I'm always asking Alexa. I've got an Alexa and I've got a Google. I'm always asking them to do shit for me. Yeah. And when there's people there that don't have it, they're like, oh, wow, that's so convenient and cool. So I told my sister, I'm going to get you an Alexa for Christmas because it's nice to have some automation in your home. Right. It's like, nope, we don't want it. We don't want it. I don't want to be listened to. Or I was like, you have your phone on you all the time. Different. That's different. That's not listening to me. I'm like, well, so I'm going to have her watch this podcast to prove to her that she's wrong.
Yeah. I've always made the point, like, who do you think you are? Why does anyone want to spy on you? Now, I understand if you're some world leader or something, that might be a little different, but really, does Facebook really care? They're spying on me. They have someone sitting there listening to me. I don't think
exactly. So. Do you guys, here's another question.
Yeah.
Do you guys get the emails? I don't get them all the time, but there was a time that I got them quite frequently. And it would be an email. First of all, the place that I work at, our email server that we get our emails on sucks. I mean, I get spam all the time.
I have no way of stopping it. Yes, I get it all the time too.
Yeah, and there is no way to stop it. I mean, I've really looked into it. So, but I get emails that say, oh, hey, we got your browsing history and we noticed that you like to go to adult sites and we hacked into your computer and turned your camera on. We've got footage of you masturbating. Pay us $1,000 and we're going to send it to everyone on your contact list. You have 30 days.
I'd say send it out and give me 10%.
Yeah, I want a talent fee for it. But do you guys ever get those emails?
Yeah.
Have you?
I mean, I get all sorts of phishing ones. Yes.
But if I got one like that, I'd be like, go ahead, do it.
Right.
Send it.
Bruce, you love it, dude.
That's the problem with the modern scams, because they send them out saying, your Amazon account's been hacked. And I'm like, I have an Amazon account. Well, I should click on this. But yeah, they've gotten good.
I
had Bruce. Then our guest is standing by after.
Okay. And my dad, when he was alive, one time I came home and he was just so angry, and he's on the phone and he said Amazon was on the phone with him, and what did I buy that with his credit card and this, that, and the other thing, and it was a scammer calling and saying
Yeah.
that they had but they wanted to confirm what the credit card number was.
Of course.
Right.
And that,
Yes.
and I just said, Dad, hang up the phone right now. He's like, what? I'm like, hang it up.
Yeah.
He hangs the phone up, and he's like, well, why'd you tell me to hang up? Now, how am I going to call Amazon back? And I said, Dad, if they wanted to
It's
reach
a
out to
scam,
you,
dude.
they would email you. And when I told him all that, he was just like, you know what? I'm glad you came home when you did, because I was ready to start,
Yeah.
confirming a credit card with them.
I just had the same talk to my mom. My bank account's been suspended. I'm going to click on this link. I'm like, Mom, call the bank.
Oh,
It's a huge scam on
course.
senior citizens. They
All the
take
time.
advantage of senior citizens all the time. It happens with my mom all the time. I've got her trained to the point where she'll call me first now.
Yeah.
So
No, for sure.
but it happens all the time.
Like Alex was saying, it's a numbers game. They try a whole bunch and someone will get it. So, all right, let's get our guest in here so we don't lose her. All right, she's joining in.
Hey,
Julie Spira, cyberdatingexpert.com. Oh, there she is. You see us, Julie?
Hi, guys.
Julie
Hello.
Spira,
Hey.
taking those glasses off and all ready for us.
Welcome back to the show. We didn't scare you off with our male-oriented shenanigans last time?
Oh my gosh, I'm so used to that. What do you think? Well, there are more men on these dating apps than women.
Yeah, I would imagine there are. So, all right. So, quick update. Well, last episode, if you haven't tuned in, you should find it. It's on all the podcast sites and YouTube and all that. But we met Julie here with cyberdatingexpert.com. She is the guru of the industry. And we asked a lot of good questions about dating in general, and it was a really good interview. The whole thing, like I said, it's on YouTube and it's in the podcast and all that. But Julie offered to come back on the show and critique my dating profile because apparently I'm doing some things wrong, and we also have an update on the coffee date that Julie assigned me to go on, and I follow through with my homework, so I did do that. So.
So what should we start with, your homework or the critique? I feel like we should start with your homework first.
Yes, I want to hear about the homework assignment.
Okay. All right. So the big question we had last time was, am I ready? How long do I wait? I had a bad breakup a couple of months ago at this point now. And, when do I start to get back out there? So Julie, you gave me some interesting advice to go basically practice. Set up a date with somebody. Maybe you have a little interest. Maybe it doesn't matter. You just said, go sit with a woman and just have a conversation, right? And what was the logic behind that for you?
Well, the more you go on dates, the more dateable you become, the more you can attract more people because you have it in your schedule that you're going on dates. And even if they don't turn into being, a love interest, you might make a new friend. That friend might have a friend they can introduce you to. It's social dating. You've got to get back in the game. And yeah, you got burned, but you got to pick up your big boy pants and start over.
Right. That's an interesting point you just brought up. Am I supposed to be asking my dates, hey, you got a friend that's single too?
No, but if someone says to you, I really enjoyed meeting you, but I don't really think we're a match, and you could say, well, that's okay. I'm just really interested in making new friends, and maybe I have someone I can introduce you to, hint, hint, or vice versa. So it's not like you're pathetically saying, do you have a friend since you don't want me?
Right.
No, you're saying, I might know people to introduce you to, and maybe you will as well.
I gotcha. All right. So, and by the way, Nick and Brewski have not heard my dating tale yet here. It's I don't know. It's so as we discussed on the last episode, I'm on Hinge, I'm on Bumble, and I'm on Facebook. And I have
Grindr as well, right?
Yeah.
Are you on Grindr?
We're not talking about that. That's the dark web show. We'll be doing that a little later. Sorry. So I've had my my hook in the water, trying to see what nibbles are out there, and I've had I don't know, I probably have a good dozen different conversations going right now, but
wow.
I don't know, nothing that I was super excited about per se. But I my therapist is telling me like, hey, take it slow, and Julie's telling me, hey, get out there and practice. So I'm taking Julie's advice, and one of the women. I'm 46. She is 52. She is some sort of a real estate investor and works for some investment company and whatnot. And she's she's nice. Everyone told me not to go with my type. She is a blonde, but she doesn't look like my others, and my others are all younger. This woman is a little more mature. So yes, we set up a coffee date, and I guess the good news is I didn't freak out or anything. I still have the gift of gab, as Nick pointed out. I know how to carry on a conversation. I know how to interview people. That's really what I do in these dates. It's like a mini radio show because I'm just listening and I'm interviewing and I'm thinking of questions, which is what we do here. So I don't know, guys. I mean,
Were you anxious?
Not too anxious. I had told the story on the last show about going to a concert, and a friend of a friend was there, and she kept like touching my arm and stuff, and I kept being like, just don't. I'm not ready for any of this stuff. So I did not have any of that. I went into this date. I sort of have a philosophy on dates, like you got to kind of show up and be yourself, because anything else is it's too much effort, and it's not going to pan out in the long run anyways. I'm not one of these guys trying to pull some scam out there. Like, I'm trying to be sincere. So I dress somewhat nicely, but
What'd you wear?
I have a first date uniform.
You do? What is it, dude?
It's see, here's the thing. I'm a t-shirt guy, but I don't want to be too t-shirty about it. So
Sure.
I've got like a long sleeve t-shirt thing, right? It's just plain. So no, Metallica t-shirt or anything. And then I just wear a pair of nice jeans, and I was wearing flip-flops because it's still warm here in Tahoe. So that is how I dressed. What do you think of that, first of all, Julie?
I think that's fine. The flip-flops, I don't know. I'll tell you why.
I'm a mountain guy.
I know, but
Men's summer footwear.
I've heard women complain about their date and they couldn't find anything wrong with him except for that he wore flip-flops.
Oh, is that a good woman for me though, really? If she doesn't love flip-flops.
No, but flip-flops maybe like if you're going on a beach date, but on a first date, I would, wear sneakers or shoes.
All right.
Cover those toes, dude. I mean, they're not.
I cut
no
my
one's
nails
toes are
before the date.
completely appetizing. Well, that's a good start. But yeah, put some shoes on, Steven, and show up for the date like you've put a little effort into it.
So
okay?
when we don't need your toes looking like dip-sized Fritos or something like that.
No, I've got good-looking toes. Julie, let me ask you this, because this is something that came up with my ex, where she would always say, like, I love that Steve is like this rock and roll DJ, and he used to play in a band, but he dresses like someone who's a rock and roll DJ that used to play in a band. I'm like, do you want me or do you not want me? Where do you draw the line? Is this just first date etiquette?
No, I mean, women go out there and they find these men and then they say, okay, now how can I change them?
Right.
Or men go out and they find women they like, they go, please don't change, please don't change. Right. And that goes back to caveman days. I'm telling you, it really does. Right. But women, unfortunately, we do think about, gee, this is great, but the better version of Steve would be, wow. And do you really want to go down that path? Yeah. All right. So tell us more about that. How long did the date last?
Lasted about an hour and a half. And then honestly, it only ended because she had an obligation to get off to. But we talked solid for an hour and a half.
That's a long date. 90-minute date for a first date is long. Okay.
Nice. Okay.
Especially
it was good
for
conversation.
Coffee.
Yeah,
you paid for her drink, right? You paid for
absolutely.
Her coffee?
Yes, I don't get guys that don't understand that. What a $5 cup of coffee? Look what that brought.
I know, right? I know.
So yeah, no, she took her wallet out to pay, and I said, no, I got this, of course. And
then how did you leave it? Did you leave it where you said you'd like to get together, and you put a second date on the calendar and took out your phone and looked at each other's availability?
So let me ask you this: first of all, what's the correct way to start a first date? Handshake, hug. Is it because I go for the handshake and she goes for the hug, and then I'm automatically starting off awkward?
It's awkward. The handshake is awkward. The handshake says, nice to meet you. This is like a business lunch. This is going to be like an interview. And yeah, I'm already friend zoning you.
Okay.
So just a hug, when you put your head to the side, you're not like kissing them, just a hug. But I think when you're meeting somebody that you've already chatted with, you've been texting, you might have spoken on the phone with someone. I think when you finally meet in person, it's a big deal to get to a first date. You should give them a warm hug, even if you don't want to go out on another date with them, unless they look nothing like their photo and then you pretend you walk the other way.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So to answer your question, at the end of the date, the coffee date, I said to her, I was like, is this something you want to do again? And she was like, I've had a great chat with you. So yes, I would like to see you again. And then we stood up, and that's to me always the awkward, like, now what? Are we hugging? Are we kissing? Are we fist bumping? Like what? It is the first coffee date, and it does feel like an interview, which some women have said, like, I don't want no interview on my first date, like put some effort into it. But I feel like it should be an interview. So Yeah, I reached in and we did a quick semi-awkward hug.
Okay. Well, it would have been less awkward if you did a hug when you first greeted her. 90 minutes is
Well,
really
we did.
a long time.
We did.
Yeah.
We deflected. She deflected the hand and we hugged. So there was that.
Oh,
but I'm just worried at
okay.
the end of a date, when you go in for a hug, what if she thinks you're going in for a kiss? And I wasn't trying to do that.
Oh, you're overthinking it. You're really overthinking it.
Me overthinking, really?
No. The point of the ending of your first date, which probably should have ended in 60 minutes instead of 90 minutes, is to make sure that you have the time to comfortably say, hey, let's do this again. What are you doing on Tuesday or Thursday? What are you doing on Wednesday or Saturday? You know, is really pulling out your phones, looking at your calendars and say, you know what, I really enjoyed this. I'd love to continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Are you free on, and you give them two choices. And if she says, I don't know that I feel it, then you say, okay, but thank you for your time. And she says, well, I'm not free on Thursday or Saturday, but I'm free on Friday. Does that work for you? Make it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you weren't real interested, were you, Steve? I mean, you're not real interested in a second date, are you?
This is the conundrum. Like sometimes at the end of a first date, I'm on the fence. There's been a few where I'm like, no, definitely not interested. But there's some where I'm on the fence. And with this particular woman, I mean, this was my first time dipping my toe back in the water. And I just kept sitting there thinking like, she's pretty. We're talking. This isn't awkward. We're having a nice conversation. Did I feel sparks or magic chemistry? No. So when we ended the date, I didn't know what to really do. I didn't know if you just politely say, like, do you want to do this again? Hey, call me. Or
no, you need to be really specific, because women, I like a man with a plan. Okay. So you need to be really specific. And the goal of the first date is to see if you connect enough to consider going on a second date and then putting it on your calendar. So basically, you have to close the deal. And closing the deal means putting a second date on the calendar and not going to this vague, let's try and do this again sometime. Okay, yeah, I'll call you. Yeah, I'll call you. And then it goes nowhere.
Right.
So,
well, isn't that a good test, though, to see if they follow up afterwards, to leave it dangling?
No.
Okay.
No.
Go for the sale.
Go for the sale, because if you don't, someone else will. And she's going to go, oh, Steve, I met another guy and now we're exclusive.
And that's not too forward to take out the calendar?
No.
What if she's trying to back out? Don't give her the chance?
No, you don't just take out the calendar, go, let's put another date on the calendar. You just say, this is really, I've really enjoyed our conversation. I'd love to continue the conversation. Would you like to get together on Wednesday or Saturday? And if she backpedals and says, oh, I don't know, I don't really feel the same, then and she says, I would like to get together, and she picks one of those two dates, or she selects a third date that you didn't give her a choice on, then say, hey, let's just grab our calendars and, put it down, and I'll be in touch in between. Okay. And then you go home, and then tonight, for the night of your date, you just say, hi, what was your first name? Putting her on the spot. Hi, all right. Hi, Denise. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Denise.
Shayla. Sure.
Okay. Hi. Well, I don't want to put her on the spot. Yeah. But anyway, hi. I'm just pretending you're Denise. Hi, Denise. Yep. Had a great time chatting over coffee today. Look forward to seeing you again next Thursday.
So we have had follow-up texts. I was kind of seeing if she was going to be serious or not. I sent her a message after the date just saying like, hey, it was really nice to talk to you. Like, look forward to seeing you again. And then, a day later she was texting me. So she's clearly interested. But what am I supposed to do with my on the fenceness? Part of me thinks second date. We're not getting married. Like, go out and have a second date.
Schedule a second date. Most dates are one and done dates. Most dates don't even get to a second date. Right. So I tell people, unless you're totally repulsed by your date, go on a second date. Okay. Because a first date is it's a pre-date. It's an interview to decide whether you want to go on a date. It's not even a real date.
Yes.
And it was coffee, so it's really not a real date. You didn't make a huge investment. So your only purpose is to see if you can strike up a conversation, which you can with just about anyone, but you did with her. If feelings are mutual, go on a second date, and and you still feel nothing, then it's just a second date. But if you like her enough to schedule a third date, the only goal at the end of every date, if you're keeping your clothes on, is to put another date on the calendar.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, gentlemen, thoughts, questions? Because I haven't told you about this. Do you have any questions, Nick, Brewski?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of questions. Well, first of all, I mean, what's the gist of what you guys talked about? Was it just small talk? Did you get deep with anything?
We didn't get deep on any like romantic topics, but we talked all about jobs and kids and life in the area and the fires going on. I mean, it wasn't just idle
Small
chit
talk.
chat, but it was somewhere between chit chat and getting into some real issues. I mean, we talked a lot about our, our past and all that. So it wasn't just, how's the weather?
Did you talk about exes?
Oh,
Yeah, a little bit. It came up.
Oh,
I took Julie's
Oh.
advice. I told her that she asked something about how long had I been single, and I said, yeah,
okay.
it's been a few months. Came out of a long-term relationship that it just didn't work out, and she accepted that, and she referenced that she had been married twice. She has had a kid with one husband, and then 10 years later got married, had another kid. So she gave me some of that background. Sure, I didn't ask like what went wrong or anything like that.
sure.
Yeah.
And then what was the follow-up text like? Like, what have you guys been talking? You haven't scheduled another date, but what has the talk been like since you left the date?
Yeah, so we seem to have our kids on opposite weeks. So we had discussed the fact, like, geez, we're gonna have to look at our calendars and figure out when we can have a free night here. But then she's just, she texted me like on a Sunday morning, like, hey, sipping on coffee, just, I had a great time with you. Look forward to next time. And so we chatted for maybe 20 minutes, texting about just, Sunday plans and taking it easy.
She's interested. She's definitely interested.
Yeah.
If she's initiating text messages and and you have a banter going back and forth, she's interested. But you need to be the guy. You need to take the lead. You need to get something scheduled.
I know. I'm just so petrified right now, but I should just do it. Right?
You just do it. You're not marrying this woman. You're going on a
I
second date.
know.
You're probably graduating from coffee to lunch. Or, it's not like
I know. I just get worried when I get other humans involved in my inner monologue and shenanigans of what I'm going through.
Right, but she doesn't need to know, unless she's listening. She doesn't need to know like the,
Yeah, I did
the
tell her
deep
about the
dark
show.
secret about what happened, because nobody wants to hear that drama.
No, I hear you.
So you were great in saying, hey, just didn't work out. It was a long-term relationship, just didn't work out. That's a script to stick with.
Okay.
And then if somebody pries and says, you know what, I'll save that for the fifth date. I mean, just kind of push it forward to another date so they know that you're still interested in seeing them, but that you don't really want to talk about, what went south.
Yeah. And by the way, no, I have not told any of these people about this podcast because I can't right now.
You can't.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
They're listening
oh
to me
no,
gossiping
he's
with
going
my
to talk
friends.
about it. Right. He's analyzing our date, and it was just coffee. The next thing you know, everybody knows I went to coffee with this guy.
Right. I'm just worried. Like, let's say I hit it off with this woman, and then 6 months from now, she goes back and finds this episode. She's gonna be like, "You jerk! You thought you didn't know if you wanted a second date or not." It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if you hit it off with her, then you can laugh about it, and you tell her that before she finds it. If you're seeing this woman in 2 to 3 months from now, just say, oh, by the way, we had a dating coach on the show, and she was, sort of guiding me back into, how to date again. So, I did mention our coffee date, but not a lot. And this way, it's not a shock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So,
Hey,
Steve, when you are going to make this second date, is it a possibility that just if it's the week you have your kids, I mean, you can make an adjustment for one night to go out to dinner, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it work somehow. I would see what she's got free, and or if there's some concert coming. She goes to a lot of concerts, so if I can find something like that coming up, I would make it work. Yeah.
Is that a good second date, a concert?
A concert's a great date, maybe a third date, because you still need to sort of, bond a little bit. But concerts are fun. They're really low pressure. Everybody's singing their hearts out. It's loud, so you don't have to like really engage in deep conversation. And it's a memory that, like, if things do work out with this woman, you can go, remember that second or third date that we went to see that great concert? And by the way, who's playing in concert upcoming? Is there anybody really great?
I got to look. But yeah, I mean, there's always shows going on up here, and I get tickets to most of them. So that's
right.
a possibility.
So take her to a concert.
Yeah. And I would probably do like dinner before, so we could have time quiet to talk and then go do something fun. So
sounds like a great date. Great
Yeah,
date.
it really does.
Oh,
Look
good.
at you go.
I should ask Bruce
Steven
what
is growing up.
Well, so Steve, here's a question for Steve. Steve, do you have a place that in mind already where you would go for dinner? And the reason why I asked that is because some months back I went on a date and I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go with this woman, and she made a recommendation, and we went there, and it turns out that she didn't like the fact that she made a recommendation and that we went there.
Yeah.
She, like Julie was saying, she wanted me to take the lead on that sort of thing. But
yeah.
that's why I asked, do you already have some place in mind?
Yes.
Or
Listen,
a couple of places?
I got this town of mine dialed in, so I know all the good and bad spots. And I have to be careful because I have tinnitus from my rock and roll band days. So if I get in a really loud restaurant with a lot of background noise, I can't follow a conversation very well. So yeah, I would pick a place that's cool, hip, but has got enough privacy that we could talk. Does that sound correct, Julie?
Sounds great. Sounds great. Boy, she's a lucky girl. I mean, a nice dinner date followed by some great music. It's a
Right?
perfect date. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think
See how
so.
lucky
You
these
say
women
she's
are?
you say she's a lucky girl. Well, is it that easy? I mean, like, if you can hold a conversation, like just taking her out to dinner and having a nice night, do you honestly you consider her lucky? Like most women aren't getting that. Is that what you're saying?
A lot of women aren't. A lot of women are getting lazy guys. And either they're not taking them to dinner or they're inviting them back to cook at their home, which turns into a sex date. So women don't
Sure.
know, oh great, it's a third date.
Yeah.
He's going to cook dinner for me. He's expecting,
I
So-
can't even
so-
tell you how low the bar is I've seen out there. Women are like, do you have a job? Does your car work? I've had women say they're looking for men with good hygiene. Like that's how low the bar is.
Wow.
So
that is pretty sad.
I don't understand how I'm not married already.
Well, let's
Right.
go over your dating profile.
Well,
and then
that may
maybe
be
we'll
it,
find
yeah.
out.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Julie, any other questions about the date, or did we cover that?
No. It's just that your homework assignment is to get something else put on the calendar, like
Okay.
this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
you
Because
get a D is
keep
what
in
she's saying,
mind-
Arnis.
No, because keep in mind that you're not the only person she's texting.
Yeah. But I'm special, so I'll stand out
Well,
above all the rest, right?
Until she meets someone she clicks with who's a little more attentive.
Right. Yeah. No, this is all fair.
Yeah.
It's a fun game out there.
Okay, so let's talk about your profile.
Okay. Now I think I can pull these screenshots up.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Should we just go through
Share.
them?
Do you want to share? Yeah, let's share your screen and take a peek.
All right, everyone.
Oh.
So here is.
And I have previewed them, but let's go one by one.
All
Is
right.
your age correct? Are you really 46?
Yes. Why do you say that?
Okay. Oh, because a lot of people lie about their age.
Do I look younger or older than 46?
Oh, stop it. That's the loaded question. You look great. You look great.
Okay.
But you have an odd smirk. Like, I would rather see a photo of you smiling. Okay.
That's
Like with
funny. A
teeth.
woman
People
recently
have-
told me that she thought that picture was, you look handsome but mischievous because of the smirk.
Well, it's a goofy look. Yeah. And it could be okay for a second photo, but for a primary photo, all of this research that we do, like a lot of people are saying what's important when you look at a photo, and teeth. Can you believe that? So smiling like this.
So I'll tell you this:
I hate
as
that,
long
yes.
as I've known Steve, I've never seen a picture of him smiling. It's always been just a straight face or what you see on that dating profile. I've never seen a picture of
All
him
right.
smiling.
Can you try? Let me just see what we look like.
I don't
No,
smile
you-
with teeth. Like, it just
Oh.
looks awkward.
Okay. So it looks awkward.
Right.
Okay.
And I've
Anyway.
seen women say, like, I want to see a picture with teeth. Like, can I just tell them, like, I had braces. My teeth are fine. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's move over to your about me. Okay, which is underneath that primary photo. Okay. So we talked a little bit about this last week, but I'm going to mention that there are multiple choice kind of questions where you can just kind of click. And so Stephen, his basics, before we talk about the about me, says he's 6'2", which means he's tall. And I think I will mention again, women like tall men. However, there are only 14% of men in the United States that are above 6 feet tall. So if you're 6'2", you don't need to say the first word in your about me that you're tall, because I'm scrolling down. I'm like, got it. He's over 6 feet.
I'm trying to
Check
put
that
the
box.
selling points out there, but I'm going to take your advice. So, okay.
But it's redundant. And when somebody says they're funny, everybody's looking for somebody with a sense of humor, but I have to see it somehow through the photos or something. So tall, funny, outdoorsy guy looking for love. Again, I'm scrolling down. It says you're looking for a relationship. The other options that Steve could have had were looking for something casual, hint, hint, hook up.
Right.
So because he says he's looking for a relationship, it would say to me as a woman looking at this profile and as a dating coach, okay, he's looking for something a little more meaningful, a long-term relationship, which will hopefully lead to love. So you don't need to say looking for love because that's a cliche.
Okay. So I
And
got a
you
lot of
don't need to say-
redundancy going on here.
You do. And so it's using up this real estate with a bunch of words that just don't need to be there.
Okay.
So I want to find my person. No, I'm on a dating app because I don't want to meet anybody. So you don't need to say, I want to find my person.
I'm trying to be sweet and romantic. Like I'm my person.
Yeah, but that's not
just some booty
necessary.
call.
All right. I know,
Okay.
but you didn't say looking for something casual, and that's where the
Okay.
booty calls come in.
Okay.
So so I would take that first two sentences out. When you say I play guitar, I'd say, well, you play guitar. Do you play electric guitar? Do you play acoustic guitar? What's your favorite song to play in the car? On the guitar, do you play Stairway to Heaven? Like, what do you play? So if you just were about to pick up your guitar, I'd want to know, first of all, I want to see a photo of you with the guitar. I want to know, is it acoustic? Is it electric? And
Really?
what's your favorite?
That's
What's your
specific.
favorite
Wow.
go-to song? Yes, because that's very generic.
I
So
play a
I was-
6-string acoustic electric. I primarily focus on Sweet Child of Mine and Metallic. No,
Exactly. There you
but
go.
really though, I should expand on it. Like I play
Really,
guitar and I love,
really. Yeah.
Dave Matthews
Yeah.
or something.
No, I play guitar, and one of my favorite songs, or a song I'm trying to master, is, and name it, whether it's Metallica, Dave Matthews, whether it's Stairway to Heaven, which is
Yeah.
the song I kept trying to learn
No,
when I was playing guitar.
No cliches.
So figure out. I just stopped something. I figure out, a little bit more about the guitar, and show.
Okay.
And we're going to swap out a photo with you. Somebody have a friend take a picture of you with the guitar.
Hey,
So
am
we know
I-
that.
Am I wrong? I have noticed since I was 19 playing guitar professionally, women freaking love a guy that plays guitar. I mean, that thing is
Oh
an
my
aphrodisiac.
gosh. No, it is. And I'll tell you, it's like, girls drool over like, the band in high school, and
Yeah.
okay, oh, he's the lead singer in the band. So yes, that's why there are groupies everywhere.
That
So I'm
guitar
not
has been
saying you
helping me
want-
get women since the teen years.
Okay.
Still
all
not
right,
letting me
but-
down.
All
Okay.
right.
Use
Well,
it.
that's good to know. It doesn't belong in your profile, but
Right.
if you want a woman to swoon, where's that guitar? So you need to show what you're
I see.
doing.
Okay.
So I play and name a song that you're either good at playing or that you're trying to master. I would say, ride, I would take the dirt bike out, because it's really not a great date idea to go riding dirt bikes with a woman.
Yeah, with
but,
the right
the
woman,
fact
it is.
that-
But I hear you.
All right, but I just, it doesn't really add to your profile.
That's
but if you
another
could
thing,
say-
though, that I have had women say, like, you ride dirt bikes and you ski, like, you're badass. Like, so I thought those were good things to put out there.
Yeah, but do you want to be badass, or do you want to be like, marriage material or long-term relationship material? Here it is. I'm looking for love. Oh, I'm badass. I'm looking for love.
Can
oh, I'm
I be
badass.
both? I
So-
mean,
Can you be both?
Well, you can, but that's about being edgy. Like when you meet someone and you come in with that confidence. That's
uh,
where you can be badass by just being confident on a date.
so do
That
I
should-
keep the dirt bike picture, but lose it in the description, or lose it all together?
Exactly. No. Keep the dirt bike picture.
Okay.
Picture tells 1,000 words, but lose it in the description, because it's taking up this really important real estate at the top of your profile.
Jeez. Okay. Okay.
Okay, where do you like to ski? There's so many ski resorts there. What's your favorite?
Are you taking notes, Arnis? Are
Well,
you
we're-
writing this
we're
down?
I'm
recording
not
this.
taking notes.
No,
I'm not
we're-
taking notes. I'm just
No,
So
he's
in
asking
other
if
words,
I'm taking
okay.
notes. I'm just saying I'll
No.
listen back to it, Nick, and critique
all right.
later.
So do you ski Heavenly? Do you ski North Star? Where do you like to ski?
Sure, Heavenly or Sierra Tahoe are my favorites. Please sponsor the
so
show.
that's what you. But say that. I love to ski, and my favorites are.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Sleeping on the beach.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
So listen,
I'm
everyone.
not laughing. By the way, I gotta.
No,
say, I'm not
I-
laughing
I-
at you. I'm just laughing at the mistakes in general, or things that I might have done. That's why I'm laughing, Steve.
Yeah, I get it, and part
You're
of me's glad.
laughing with him.
Yes.
Part of me's glad you guys can't see this stuff per se, because this is a podcast. We have to make sure we're describing this so people can watch it on YouTube, but not everything's going to be visual here. But why did I put that? I feel
Yeah.
like so many guys put in their profile like, I'm outdoorsy, I'm hiking, I'm building an ark, I'm like constantly going and moving. I wanted to put some, because some women are like, I want to be outdoorsy, but I want to watch Netflix too. So I was trying to balance, like, yeah, I do all this outdoor stuff, but sometimes I like to just sleep on the beach and be casual. That was my
Yeah.
point with that.
But what
I'm
was
with
the
Steve
la-
on that.
Thank you.
But when was the last overnight you had on the beach?
No, I mean just on a Saturday afternoon. You're laying in the
Yeah.
sun, you take a little snooze, you're relaxing on the beach in Tahoe. Doesn't that sound
Okay,
nice?
so taking a great
Stop
nap on
laughing,
the
Nick.
beach. No, I'm not laughing.
No, not you, Nick.
Taking a great nap on the beach, because you're relaxing and you're in a zone and you're taking a nap on a beach, is different than saying sleep on the beach. Because I look
Sound
at sleep on the
homeless?
beach and I'm thinking like he's doing an overnight and he didn't go home. Is he in a
Oh,
sleeping bag? I mean, like,
see. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's not what I meant.
So it
Yeah,
sounds
okay.
like you're camping and doing an overnight on the beach. So it sounds
Okay.
like if a date goes well, you're going to have a bottle of wine. And by the way, we're going to sleep on the beach.
Okay. See, this is the insight we're trying to get, because I write these things one way, and obviously not everyone takes them that way. So, okay, good know. Good
Right.
know.
And
I'm not
here
homeless.
to tell you how women think about things. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, you like to you like to daze off on the beach, when you're relaxing.
Maybe
That's
I just
one
say
thing. That's a
relaxing
great
at the
thing.
beach, not sleeping at the beach.
Relaxing
Okay.
at the beach, and also name, not that we want to stalk her, but name kind of like, what beach do you like to go to? I mean, do you do a common beach? Where do you go?
Okay.
Okay. And I see this because I was recently in Lake Tahoe, so I know a few places there. Okay. And yes, I'm good at fixing things around the house. That's great. Women like that. Oh, good. This thing just fell. He can put it up
Yes.
for me. I don't have to call the handyman.
Yep.
So it's great that you put in that you have your children and their ages. That's important to know.
Okay.
You don't need to say, if you want to know anything else, I'm an open book. There's just no point in saying it, because, you
I'm
might want
dangling
to
the challenge. Ask me. Go ahead.
If you want to dangle the challenge, just say, I look forward to starting a chat and seeing where it goes.
Okay. See, a lot of
That's
this is
the
my radio
same-
stuff where I'm trying to tease,
I understand. I have a radio background too. I understand the teaser
Yeah.
and the back sell into the top of the hour. Okay.
Hey, wow,
So,
look at her. Nice.
so anyway, so that's what I would say. Rather than saying I'm an open book,
Okay.
meaning that they have to ask you lots of questions, just say, I look forward to starting a chat and seeing where the conversation goes, because then you're taking the I and you're making it more of a we. So
Okay.
I'm reading that. I'm going, okay, if I write to him, he'll write back.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Nick, what are your thoughts on the initial assessment of my words?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably true. Like I said, I was laughing because it's so specific of how you have to write this, for sure. I mean, the whole sleeping on the beach thing is hysterical, and I know what you mean, but I would take it the way Julie does. Like, he likes to sleep on the beach, but so I get what you're saying, for sure, and maybe some people do, but the specificity of everything, you just have to be so super specific in what you're saying. And that's hard.
Yes,
and
I'm marketing myself. I know you and I write commercials for a living, but this is me I'm trying to market.
Yeah,
it's
I'm sorry.
so much harder when it's yourself. It's like, I can write profiles for other people, but people can't write their own resumes. This is why they hire resume writers.
Right.
But at the end of the day is that, there's these little nuances. This is not a bad profile. They're just little nuances that will be a little bit more romantic and make you more appealing.
Right. And I didn't do any egregious fouls, right? I have no me shirtless in the bathroom pictures. I didn't write anything overtly like terrible, right?
No, you did not.
Okay. I just don't want to feel like I'm a cliche guy.
No, and that's why I wanted you to add in the specifics of the location of the beach and not several locations of where you like to ski, just so people can put it into context. Oh, he likes to ski Heavenly. I like to ski, North Star or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know what's there anymore.
It is. Yeah.
But it's okay. So your interests are skiing, cycling, meditation, bars, and coffee.
Yeah.
Do we have to say bars?
That's another one I struggled with, because I do like to go out and have a cocktail. I think it's fine to go hang out and have a drink, but I don't want to sound like a barfly either. So
you're going to sound like a barfly. You're going to sound like you're going out with the guys for brewskis every night.
Right.
I would take bars out there because women really, where is he going to take me on a date? He's going to look at your profile. Where is he going to take? Oh, he's going to take me to a bar. How many beers is he going to drink?
Right. Okay.
So I
All
would
right.
take that out, and you could change it to something else. Dining, travel, whatever.
All right. Were the other ones
but otherwise,
okay?
the other ones are great because, you're going to show photos of skiing and cycling. meditation is great. It shows that you care about mind, body, the whole works. Bars and coffee sound like bars and coffee dates, coffee and bar dates.
Yeah.
Doesn't this guy ever want to feed me?
Wow. Talk about overthinking things.
Subliminal when women are reading that. Like, is that I can't imagine someone sitting down like, will he ever feed me? Is that all subliminally coming through when he says bars and coffee?
Bars and coffee sound like drinks, and that, he doesn't want to put the investment into going on a real date, which we know he does because he's already talking about a concert and dinner. So you're sending it to you, like, we need truth in advertising. You write copy, whatever. You need to know that, like, women are going to look at this and go, this guy only goes on drink dates. It's either coffee in the morning or alcohol at night. And they do think that way.
Wow.
And so you
this
just
is
need
the
to
feedback we're trying
that.
to get. So yeah, okay.
So you need to finesse that, okay?
Yeah.
The photo with the ski jacket on, with also the same mischievous grin.
Yeah, that's my smolder, man. I just looked through you.
Your Zoolander.
Yes.
But the blue is good because we don't want you to just wear black or white t-shirts. The blue is a nice color that pops, that I recommend men wear in their profile. So I like that photo.
Okay. And I have blue eyes. And I got to tell you that I get more comments on that photo. Women are always like, wow, your eyes in that picture.
Yeah, well, that's great. Perfect first date. Talk, see if there's a spark. This is the guy who only wants coffee and goes to a bar, and now he wants to talk, and he's not even taking me on a real date. There are some guys out there that go, oh, I'd like to go on a date with you. Can we go for a walk? Can we walk my dog? And it's just like, there's very little investment in that.
Yeah.
So if a perfect first date is talk and see if there's a spark, I would like to know where a perfect first date would be.
Well, hold on. Isn't that what we were talking about, though? That the coffee date's supposed to be an interview, essentially, to get to the real first date? So
right, but the question is the perfect first date going for coffee? Is your perfect first date going for lunch? What is your perfect first date?
I see.
You can even answer this perfect first date by saying, my perfect first date is when it leads to a second date, and this is where I want to go on a second date.
See,
and
I like
that just says, and that says to somebody, oh, he's invested in this process. He's not a one and done dater.
Yeah, because for the first meeting, I don't want to go do something. I want to sit and talk to you.
Right.
Is that
you want to see if there's a connection?
Right.
But you want to see if there's a connection. So that's why I like saying my perfect first date is, we connect over conversation and we leave with a second date on the calendar.
Okay. All right.
Is it really so terrible to eat on a first day? Like to go out for lunch or even dinner?
Good question.
It is and it's not. For some women do love coffee dates. They don't want to put the investment in 20-minute coffee dates. If it goes well, then we'll have lunch or dinner. But there are other people that are really busy with work, or they're busy with family, and they're, putting their makeup on and getting all dolled up for a date, and they want to go someplace where they can have a meaningful conversation. And it doesn't have to be the fanciest place in town, but sometimes they want it to be, they don't want to get all dressed up and carve out the time for just coffee. Some people do, and that's why I say give a choice. By the way, I'm free. I would love to get together with you. Would you like to meet for coffee on Tuesday or lunch on Thursday? And then give them a choice, and then you'll see where their comfort zone is. And then they're like, wow, that's so great. He gave me the choice, of coffee or lunch.
Yeah, I like that.
So he's not just cheap, and he's only going on coffee dates.
You see, Nick, this is why she's the dating expert. So
I know, dude. I know. You do good work, Julie.
Okay.
And by the way, we're talking with Julie Spira, cyberdatingexpert.com. Check out the website. So, all right, what else you got for me? This hasn't been too bad. I feel a little vulnerable, but this isn't too bad.
The photo in the studio is good, except for you have the same smirk in every photo. I do
smirk.
need to see another. I know, but we need to find another look.
Okay, so I got to show some teeth without looking awkward somehow. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, dude,
show some teeth that look awkward.
Go over your recording of the podcast, and when you're laughing, snag a picture out, because when you're not self-conscious about looking at a camera, you smile often. You just don't do it for a camera. Yes.
Okay.
I just saw some teeth. I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right. I'll work on it.
So moving along, my zombie apocalypse plan.
Yes.
Find a boat. I don't think zombies can swim. Okay, that shows your humor.
Good.
So it's
And
just
by the
sense of
way,
humor.
I'm a huge fan of The Walking Dead. Why do they not just go to an island? Zombies clearly can't swim, people. Just get a boat.
Zombie can't
okay?
swim. Okay.
Show over. I think that's a brilliant point on my part. That's mainly why I put it out there.
Anyway, I like the
Okay.
picture with the bike. I like the picture with the bike and the beautiful trees in the background. You know,
Okay.
that's something that you enjoy doing. But remember, I want you to swap in a photo with a guitar. Well, when do you
Guitar,
guys take a
yeah.
picture of him with a guitar?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll work that out.
What makes a relationship great is, I'm going to read this.
Yes.
When you're in pain, the world stops and I listen. If we both do that, we both win. That and a healthy sex life.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
There's a lot going on. That one was well written. There's a lot happening in that thing. I don't know if anyone can appreciate the nuance.
Let her be the judge of that.
Yeah,
right.
go ahead.
I don't know a guy anywhere that doesn't want a healthy sex life, right?
Okay.
I don't know guys that go. Every guy I know goes on a first date with a woman and is undressing her with their eyes, even if they're not going to sleep with her because they want to be respectful and wait,
Yes.
whatever,
Yeah.
and make sure they're exclusive or have the sex talk. So if you say that on a healthy sex life, then I'm going. In the beginning, he told me he wants to fall in love, and now he's telling me, he wants to hook up and have sex, and
Yeah.
healthy, meaning a lot of it. So, I mean, we all know that that's part of the plan. Like if you end up moving along with this one or another one we haven't yet met, well, at some point you're going to have hopefully a healthy sex life, but don't advertise that because it kind of is a little creepy and it kind of sounds like you just want to get laid and you're
Okay.
into
See,
hookups.
I was worried about that. I'm trying to be a little flirty and a little honest. Like I enjoy a healthy sex life. Keyword, they're healthy, and that does not mean quantity to me, but I understand what you're saying. So
I think
okay.
Just the word.
I agree with Julie on it. Take it out, dude.
Okay.
Take it out.
What
You
about the-
just don't write about. You don't write about sex. You don't write about sex on a profile. Period.
Okay,
Unless
all
you're
right.
on Ashley Madison or something.
Okay. What about the first part? Because part of that's plagiarized
From whom?
from Dr. Gottman. See, I've studied the 7 principles
the
of basic.
Gottman,
Yes.
right?
And that's one of his
Okay.
quotes. So I'm trying to see
Yes.
who else might know the quote, but also it's a good sentiment. Women like a guy that listens, right?
But
Right.
is it really
You
what
know
you
what?
want?
Yes.
But
Okay.
if you're quoting someone else, can you at least put quotes around it so we know it didn't come from you?
Well, I guess, but I like I said,
Well,
I'm trying
yeah.
to test. I'm hoping somebody replies and it was like, "Hey, that's from Gottman. I know that book," and then I can be like, "Oh, good. You're probably a good arguer or good at resolving disputes because that's what I need. That's the what's."
But I would put quotes around it. Look, I had a client, I put her on OkCupid, and she added a Rumi quote. And she added this quote from Rumi. We had put quotes around it. She said it was from Rumi, and a guy that was, swiped left on her. Notice the Rumi, he's swiping left. He goes, "Whoa, wait a second. I love Rumi. That's my favorite Rumi quote too."
Okay.
Now they're married with 2 kids.
Wow. So maybe I say,
so-
as Gottman would say, quote, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
is
as Gottman-
is Gottman the person to quote on a dating website? I mean, isn't that about the principles of what's
having
the
a
book called?
lasting relationship? Isn't that a good
Okay.
thing?
All right. I think what it shows, because between that and his meditation earlier in the profile, it shows that, he has a deep connection and that he's looking for a meaningful relationship. He studies about relationships. Not everyone's going to know that, but if someone doesn't, they might look it up and go, "Oh,
Right.
wow, that's a deep guy. That's a guy who's got a good heart." Okay. So
Okay.
I would put it, as Gottman says in the quotes, so you're not
Okay.
really plagiarizing it.
Am I true or accurate that women like a guy that knows how to listen? I literally just was watching a TV show where on the first date, the guy was like, "I'm sick of talking about me. Let me just listen to you." And the woman was like, "Oh my gosh, he just wants to listen to me."
I think that women know that men have selective listening and that they might hear like every third word we say.
I'm
which is
sorry, I wasn't
true.
paying attention. What'd you just say?
And if you're having like this long descriptive conversation about your day, like men are kind of bored, but women, "Hi, I want to check in. Let me tell you all about my day," and then they ramble on about the day, and they catch every third or fourth word.
Right.
So we
Okay.
know that guys don't listen to everything we say. So being a good listener is really a great trait.
Okay.
So I would say there's a few things to take out, the things that, a few things to make more specific. Add a guitar photo and see if you can smile.
Okay. All right. Otherwise, photos are generally good, except I got this smolder thing that I feel is selectively good. But as long as I slip a picture in with teeth, you're saying I can balance it all out.
You need to balance it out. We need a different look,
Okay.
right?
All right. Very
Yeah.
good.
And it shows you're happy. Smiling shows that you're happy. People want to be with a happy person. There are a lot of sad sacks out there.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you. Okay. All right. Well, guys,
all
I
right.
mean, first of all, I'm glad I didn't commit any just egregious, sleazy men thing. I get the bringing up the sex life maybe is a little iffy, but otherwise, I mainly feel good about that. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay, so your next homework assignment is to get this girl scheduled for a second date.
Okay. And I have
And
not
you're- and-
contacted the lawyer yet that we were all talking about, the woman I need to text. I haven't done that. I'm nervous. I don't want to mess it up. I feel like I got one
Well,
chance at that.
He's
Well, I would do
overthinking
it sooner.
like he does.
Yes.
But I would do it sooner rather than later because it's cuffing season. And if she is single, she's not going to stay single for long. And if
Yeah.
she's married, find out and get her off that fantasy pedestal she's on and move on.
Right. All right. I'm going to take your advice because you said Mondays and Tuesdays between 7 and 9 are the best times to contact someone. Did I remember that right?
Sundays and Mondays between 7 and 9 p.m.
Oh, Sundays and Mondays?
Yes.
Here's the
You gotta do it
problem.
tonight, dude.
Here's the
You gotta do
problem,
it
though.
tonight.
This woman is a devout football fan. She actually, she told me the story about her husband, they were having marriage troubles, but they were at a Super Bowl party and he wouldn't stop talking during the game. So she turned to him and was just like, stop talking. I want a divorce. So I don't want to call or text this woman during a football game.
Are you sure you want
basically-
to call or text her at all, dude? That's a
Just-
little harsh at a football.
Just so,
game.
just don't do it
Sunday,
during
Monday,
her team.
Thursday. Okay, so you can't contact her on Sunday, Monday, or Thursday.
Yeah, right. Okay. So
Until the game is,
Tuesday's
unless
okay?
the game is over. Tuesday's fine.
Well, Steve,
Yeah.
I would suggest, Steve, find out who her team is and make sure you're not reaching out during that particular team.
Yeah.
I'm a big football fan. I'm a big sports fan. You know that. And you can reach out to me during any other time than when the Patriots are playing.
Yeah.
Even if there's another game I'm watching, that's okay.
All right. I
But
got to
in
find
that
out when the
game-
Steelers are playing then. I'll ask my phone
But,
since it's listening. so-
they lost yesterday to the Patriots.
Oh,
so-
perfect. There you go. All right. So maybe I'll reach out then. Okay. So homework assignment, tweak my profile, set up a second date with the older lady. That's a great way to describe her. And text the lawyer. Did I get all that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the guitar photo.
And yes, and the guitar. Of course.
Smile, Stephen.
Guitar and teeth. Can I do a guitar and teeth in one? And we'll just call it good.
Yeah, you can do that in one.
Okay. All right, Julie. I appreciate the feedback, the critiquing. I will tell you, that date I went on, it may not have been, like rainbows shooting everywhere and sparkles or whatever, but it felt good. It felt good to get back out and talk to a human. It made me feel like, I can be I can still do it. It's nice to have a human, look at you nicely as opposed to what I've been living with for months. So
There
I do
you go.
appreciate the push in the right direction.
Oh, well, anyway, I know I'm a little bit of tough love, but I think we made some progress.
No, absolutely. All right, Julie Spira, cyberdatingexpert.com. She has been nothing but good and helpful to us so far. So check out the website. And Julie, do you desire to be kept in the loop as this saga unfolds?
Oh, absolutely. I'm invested already.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate it. Gentlemen, do we have any questions for Julie or do we set her free?
Oh, go ahead, Brewski.
I just have one question. So I've been contemplating going to a speed dating event, and I've never been, and I automatically have this thing in my head from like the 40-year-old virgin when they go to that speed dating event and how odd it gets and awkward. Do you have any tips for speed dating events?
Have your list of questions in advance because you get 2 to 3 minutes, and know that it's kind of like an interview. Smile and just don't ask them how long have you been single. Just say hi.
Get to the point.
Yeah, great to meet you. What's your favorite restaurant? I mean, really, ask them with their favorite ski resorts, favorite restaurant, favorite anything, favorite song.
Is it okay to
favorite
have
all-time
questions? Do you ask
concert.
to each one? The same questions do you ask everyone? Is that weird?
Yeah,
or-
but because they won't know.
Yeah. Okay, good. See, guys,
Yeah.
this really is like radio. Like if you only have 2 minutes to interview a celebrity, you come in with a few questions, you get out what you can, and you wrap it up and move on.
Gotcha.
So-
Good luck with it, Brewski, and dress sharp, dude. What are you gonna wear? Bow tie?
Yeah. When is this?
Well, there's a couple of them coming up nearby, and one of them I'm a little concerned about because the age range is a little wide because it's like late 20s to early 50s, and I don't know, late 20s seems kind of like what I have in common with somebody in their late 20s, you know.
Find
But
out, dude.
the other one is more like late 30s to 50s, which is fine because if somebody that's 39 or 40, that's only 10 years difference with me. I can deal with that, you know. So
thoughts on
well,
that?
my thoughts are if something is advertised as late 20s to 50 something or other, there probably won't be a lot of people in their 20s there because they're going to be turned off and I don't want to sit next to some old guy.
Right.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I have a feeling that there really won't be a lot. I would go to them, both of them. I have a feeling you're not going to be stuck with a lot of younger people. I just don't think that they're going to want to be there with people closer in age to their parents.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No,
And if they are, they're looking for a sugar daddy, dude.
I will tell you guys, I recently lowered the minimum age on all my searches because I started thinking like, well, if some, hot 30-year-old is looking for an older guy or even 28, 29, like, I don't know. I know one couple here in Tahoe they've been married for years, and the guy is like almost 20 years older than the woman. And he got this young hottie. And I started thinking like, maybe that's out there.
You've always gone with younger.
I have, but younger by 5 or 6 years. This guy's woman is like 20 years younger than him.
Yeah, so I wouldn't think it would work well for you.
But they've been married for
even
years.
younger. They have. That's not you, dude.
No, but I'm saying I would be
enjoy
the older
the 52-year-old.
I don't know. Julie, thoughts on my age range? Should I be limiting it or?
Well, I feel that when I see profiles of guys who are looking for women that are really young, it's like I go, that's a real turnoff. If he's really willing to date somebody in their 20s,
Sure.
Is he going through a midlife crisis? People tend to feel more comfortable dating people that are interested in meeting people that are age appropriate. And so I always had this rule: I would never date anybody closer in age to my father than myself. And I think it's the same thing. You don't want to date somebody closer in age to your children than yourself.
Yeah, I did that math the other day. I realized if I was dating a 28-year-old, that person would be closer to my daughter's age than to my age. So.
Right. And how would your daughter feel about that? Probably not so great.
No, I mean, honestly, I think it would depend on who the person was. If they were awesome, I think my kids would love them. But yeah, it's a little weird. So I hear you.
Also, I feel like it could also be offensive to the women that are close to your age, or like this 52-year-old that you went out with. Like, I mean, it's a little offensive to be into younger women. What am I lacking?
I know, but as a 28-year-old, is that really younger? I'm not talking about 19. I mean,
yes, it's young, dude. You're almost 50 years old.
I'm in my mid 40s. I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, you do you.
Just all right, Julie. As always, we appreciate you donating this time. Cyberdatingexpert.com is the website, and whatever the next chapter is, we'll get you on the line here and we'll update you. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Give Julie a round of applause.
Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
There you go. All right, Julie Spira.
Julie Spira is on fire. Look, dude, your profile, for the most part, I'm going to say this. The sex thing, I completely agree to get it out of there.
I'll tell you what, I did that last time, though, and that is what Hillary latched onto. Like, I want a healthy sex life, too. Let's talk about what that means to each of us.
She's crazy, dude.
I know.
Listen.
I know.
Okay, so first of all, you're gonna find out what healthy sex life means after you have sex for the first time. That's when you start talking about that shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I don't think that's necessarily an interview question, and I don't think they'd be honest anyway. They would say, I don't want to have sex very often, to be honest with you. Like, they're not going to be honest. Once you have sex with them, you can kind of gauge. Oh, did they enjoy that? Were they good at that?
Here's how I would play it. I would ask, what is your definition of a healthy sex life? Like, if you could wave a magic wand, how many times a week do you think you'd want to have sex? Because
hasn't that changed though for you over the years?
Well,
at
maybe
different points in your life.
But I want to know what your ideal number is, because that tells me a lot, even if it doesn't pan out or we don't do whatever. But it's a big. If someone says 7 or someone says 1, like, those are completely different answers and tells you a lot about someone.
What if I say 7? Are you into that?
Well, the short answer is that tells me you want a lot of sex. You're a sexual person, so that's a good thing. As I think I discussed on another one of these shows, when we were trying to get pregnant with my wife, we had sex every day for 30 days straight. And after 20 something days, I started getting a little worn out. I realized like maybe that fantasy is not actually true. You don't need sex every day. But yeah, if somebody says 7 days a week is what I want, then that tells me a lot about you.
Yeah, but like in our 20s, like a nympho was something that I thought would be great. In my 40s and even in my 30s, I don't want a nympho, dude. I don't want to have to satisfy you that often. I'm in my perfect world, I'm 2, maybe 3 times a week, but I'm happy with 2. Sometimes I'm happy with 1.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm on the low end of things. You know what I mean? As I get older, I'm just happy with that.
Not necessarily, but that answer tells me a lot. And I got to tell you, dude, you said something to Brewski and I in the last show that I think in the moment kind of went over my head, but as I listened back to the show, it was a profound point you made that I've been trying to factor in. That Brewski and I were talking about why are crazy women so good in bed, and that they're good in bed and they're good to take to Vegas or something. And your point was, guys, that's minutes out of your week or a week out of your year. Like, you got to find someone who you can tolerate for all of the rest of life, the having coffee, the paying the bills and all that. And I get so fixated on, I want somebody who's so good in bed that I forget about all the other crap is mundane. It'll work itself out. But you're right. It really does say a lot if somebody's only good in bed and sucks at the rest of life.
And I think that comes from your past relationships where sex has faded in a relationship, possibly, that you're like, that sucked. I hated that. So I understand. But when you're in a happy, like, I'll just be honest with you. For me, like I said, once a week is fine with me. It's the other 6 days in 23 hours I'm concerned with mostly, because that's the hard shit, dude.
Yeah.
For me, that's me, dude. I hope you find a great balance. I mean, that's the goal of it all. But definitely, like, the whole sex thing, if you're open and communicating about it, I feel like that can be worked on. Like, you can work on it together of what your needs are and what you like, when you like. But that other shit, if you click on that shit, it's going to be easier to figure that whole sex part out.
Yeah, I hear you. And you're right. I'm speaking from past issues and, baggage of sexless marriages and stuff where I'm like, I need a healthy sex life and the rest will work itself out. And there's a little bit of truth in that. But as I've discovered with, my recent ex here, great sex life can sometimes mask a lot of other issues going on that you otherwise would focus on.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a tough game, guys. I was thinking about it this week when I went on the road trip with my brother. I had a lot of time. First of all, I'll tell you this. I drove the whole fucking trip. I find out.
You never drove?
No.
Why didn't you drive?
Listen, we left the house and, we left Seattle. He lives in Omaha. So I thought it was fine, but he was like, hey, do you mind driving just to get us out of here since you know where you're going? Once we get on I-90 and heading east, like, we'll start swapping off, right?
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
So I was like, sure. Well, we get out and we stopped, we were going to Spokane for the first night. So we got about halfway there and stopped for something to eat. And I figured at that point that he would be like, okay, I'll take this shift, but he did not. So I just drove. And I don't really mind driving, to be honest with you. I don't love to be a passenger in a car. I would prefer driving for the most part. So it didn't bother me, but he started to tell me like, I have become in my older age. He's 58. I've become really anxious at traffic outside of Omaha, Nebraska. Dude, I know where I'm going in Omaha. It's light traffic, all these cities. It really makes me anxious and stuff like that. And I'd prefer if you drove. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's not an issue.
Dude, this reminds me of what we were literally just talking about. You enter a relationship with someone with a certain set of expectations of what does it mean to share driving. Right. And then you get on the road and he's like, yeah, I actually don't like driving so much. You're like, well, hey, you bastard, you told me you did.
but how many quote unquote big cities are you driving? I mean, Omaha is a kind of a big city.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's driver teasing you to see.
Yeah. Well, we did. I mean, we only went through like basically big city wise that were traffic and kind of stressful if you're not used to driving in a city. Were basically, we went out of Seattle into Spokane. Out of Spokane, the next big city was truly Salt Lake City. I mean, that was, that's a fairly large city. And then out of there, we went into Denver. The rest of it was, I think
middle
then
of
he
nowhere.
started, I mean, he started getting nervous on the freeways because there were so many semis and the speed limits changed to 80, 85 degree miles per hour in some of those. So for whatever reason, it gave him anxiety. So
did you tell him he's getting old? Did you make fun of him? Or?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, but my point is that I had a long time on the road to just like kind of sit and think about stuff. And I was thinking about you guys and that you're in this dating game. And there's a big part of me, dude. Like, you always think when you're in a relationship, oh, like the date sounds fun. You get to go meet someone new and possibly see someone new naked. And, that whole excitement.
There is that. Yes. Part of it. Yeah.
But that's about it. I mean,
the rest of it sucks,
sounds
right?
like a big pain in the ass to me.
Yes,
it is.
That is one of the things I keep lamenting about my relationship with Hillary. Like, we did all of that work, the courtship, the meeting, all of moving in. Oh, we did all of this work that I now have to go do all over. Like, ugh. Yeah, there's something fun about new love, but I don't know what the percentage is. It's 50-50 if I'm being generous, where it, balances out. But there's a lot of pain in the ass.
Like sharing some of these stories with my wife Rachel, I'm like, well, Steve went out for a coffee date, or Brewski's going speed dating, and this happened or this happened, and she always ends the story with, please don't ever leave me. Like,
right.
I don't want to go through that again.
I said that to you the other day, where I was lamenting setting up dates. Like, dude, take care of your relationship. I'm setting up first dates. I thought I was arranging a marriage right now. I was just engaged a few months ago, but here I am setting up new coffee dates. And there's something so depressing about that.
Listen, I've been single for 9 years now, which it's almost as long as my last relationship. And sometimes I ask myself, I'm like, do I want to keep doing this? I mean,
what do you mean? Like, do you want to find a relationship, or are you just happy alone? Is that what you're debating?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I sometimes ask myself, I'm like, I can eat when I want, I can watch what I want on TV, I can, I can do all these things I want to do without checking in with someone.
Yeah.
Sure, a lot of perks to it, but I mean, do you think you could be the kind of guy that just hooks up with somebody once in a while for sex and the rest of the time is happy being single? Yeah, could that make you happy?
No. But at the same time, we're gonna be honest, like we've always been honest here and everything. It's probably. Do you really want to know this?
Yeah.
It's
I don't know what you're gonna tell me.
Yeah, I was gonna say we may regret saying that, but yeah, go ahead.
What are you gonna tell us?
It's probably been about 7 years since I've actually been intimate with a woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You haven't had sex in 7 years? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let's all pause for a moment of silence there. What's that about? I mean, you've been trying, it just doesn't happen, or you haven't found someone you're with?
No, I mean, you go on dates and things happen, but it just doesn't get to that point. It just hasn't gotten to that point. And
are you at a place now where that feels normal? Like you've been going without for so long. What's the point? Or does it make it worse?
No. Well, neither actually. I'm just kind of in the middle. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting there like climbing the walls or anything. I would like to, but at the same time, I'm also not like freaking. I'm not freaking out about it. I kind of figure when I get there, I get there.
Yeah, that's interesting. So. Yeah, boy, I don't quite know what to say with that.
I mean, I didn't mean to
no. It's just it's a catch-22. No, it's a good curveball, and I appreciate your honesty because when I was going through my divorce, I went without sex for like a year, and then it drove me nuts for months. But then I got into a homeostasis with it, and that's not a gay website. I just mean I got into a balance with it where now this is the new normal, and you start to accept that. So I guess I was trying to gauge where your head's at, because
I mean, because believe me, I've had opportunities where where things have. When I say sex, I mean like intimacy, like penetration, that sort of thing. Because there's been times where someone is, spoken into the microphone and that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Sure.
But
So I don't know if I missed. I dropped off for a minute. My question was: is this a choice that you're making because the juice isn't worth the squeeze to you at this point?
I think it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Because like, okay, so for instance, like recently I was talking with a lady, and she's one of those ethical non-monogamy people, which Steve, you know a lot about, right? And so she was just like, she was hot on us getting to meet and that sort of thing, and we had a lot of things in common and that sort of thing. We're both kind of on a particular site, it's a fetish site and that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, hey, why don't we, meet sometime? I'm like, hey, no problem. And then she was just like, okay, well, how about we do it on this particular day? I said, hey, okay, no problem. And then she's like, oh, by the way, before I meet you, you need to do a Zoom meeting with her primary partner, who's this guy that lives in Florida.
Oh,
Well,
right. You mentioned this to us.
Yeah,
last time,
and I'm like,
which is-
and I'm just
that's
like,
just so weird, dude.
yeah, but and the thing about it is like, all right, I gotta go through, I gotta talk to that guy,
Yeah.
and then I
Right.
get to come and meet.
Well, you're in a relationship with him too, though. That would be part of it, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. But the other part of it was like, she made it known that if we get together, something's gonna happen. And I'm like, all right, this is awesome. This is great. I'm ready for this and that sort of thing. But then once she threw that at me, it hit me. I'm just like,
And I guess
it's
that's
not
what
worth
I
it.
mean, dude, is the
Yeah.
juice worth the squeeze? And I guess it's on a case by case basis. But I mean, look, Brewski, I've been in your situation where I've gone a while without sex. In my last relationship before I got married, it had turned into a sexless relationship, and we were basically just roommates. You know what I mean?
Yep, I know it very well.
I know my the thing that I think back on was like, and I don't know if you struggle with this or not, but how nervous I had become to perform again after not having sex for a year and a half. I was like, I don't know if I still know what I'm doing as good as I used to. I don't know if I'm going to finish too quick. Like, I had major anxiety about getting back on the horse.
Sure.
Well, so I can say for sure, like the last person that I hooked up with is a friend of mine in Seattle, and she and I got together when I was in town, and and she's still single. So if I wanted to make a trip out of coming to Seattle, I could. And I thought I was getting back into that, back in the saddle, like you say.
Yeah,
she and I could come together, and she and I just we do well together. She and I. That's so. But even if I lived in Seattle, I'm not sure if she'd be somebody that I would be in a relationship with. And if I told you,
this is the struggle, right? Do you just want to hook up, or do you want a relationship? I mean, if you want a relationship, then the stuff you're talking about, it's just not going to feel good after.
Yeah, exactly. And I like this lady a lot. I do. But she is just I'll put it this way, she's just not a very neat person. And that's something that kind of goes against what I am. Yeah.
I suffer from the grass is greener on the other side complex, because your original question was basically, am I finding some joy in being single and doing what I want to do and all that? It's so funny to me, because when I'm in a relationship, there are times where I'm like, man, I wish I could have the whole bed, or I wish I could just watch whatever movie I want. And now I'm in that situation, and all I'm thinking about is, man, I miss having someone sleep next to me at the end of the day. I miss having, my partner here. So
sure.
I can relate with it, dude. When Rachel goes out of town, like she goes out of town, on Saturday, she's leaving for 9 days. And like, there's a part of me that's like, I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to play The Bachelor, I'm going to watch what I want. I'm going to eat what I want, all that stuff. But usually by day 3, I'm like, I wonder when she's coming back.
Yes.
You
I
know?
did the exact
So-
same thing. You know, when Hillary would go, I would take advantage, spread out, take the whole bed, watch whatever I want to watch. But
Yeah.
I find that stuff is only fun when it's the exception to the rule, not the rule.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
nice to have a breakaway, but if that's your whole existence, now you're alone, and that's not what I'm going for. So
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it's balance, as with all things in life. But
Yep.
as we've covered on the show already, I'm a relationship person. I want my person around, and you know, the thing that has hit me hard about Hillary, you know, us leaving, the relationship ending and all that was, you know, my kids are 13 and 16, and I feel like I have now missed my window to have the family back that I wanted, to have my wife and kids all under one roof living together.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
now by the time I meet someone new and we talk about marriage or living together, I mean, my kids are either going to be gone or one foot out the door. So yeah, I've been focusing a lot on, you know, I miss the relationship side of things. I came up with
Yeah.
a slogan. We'll put it on a t-shirt. I miss my no. After my divorce, people would ask me, like, do you miss your wife? And I would always say the same thing. I don't miss my wife. I miss my life. You know, I
And
miss
you know what?
I
You've
miss
said
being
that
in a
to me
relationship.
few times.
And it's
You
yeah,
did.
there's something there.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
haven't heard you say like I miss Hillary. You know, you've always said like I miss my old life. And like I understand that, dude, for sure. I mean, you got to a place where you're comfortable, but also you miss the good part of your life.
Yes.
And I understand that for sure.
Yeah.
It's-
And I
tough.
romanticize it all. I get it. So, you know.
I do
Hey,
the
listen-
same thing, dude. It's the whole what's my favorite movie, Steve? Cusack.
High Fidelity.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole grass is greener on the other side. That movie's so freaking brilliant for that reason because I used to play that game in my head too of just
Yes.
like, you know, I wonder if I had done this. And you're a classic overthinker, so
Yes.
but it gets in your way for sure, you know.
Well, sometimes and
Yeah.
other times it helps me get where I'm trying to go. But
Yeah.
you know what's
Yeah.
funny that you just brought that up? Like you asked me what your favorite movie is, and I know the answer. We
Yes.
have one of these shows in this Gottman book we've been talking about, The Principles to a Successful Marriage. There's a bunch of quizzes in there about basically how well do you know your partner. And I would be willing to bet if you and I took those quizzes, we would score, you know.
Score really well. I made a
yes.
comment to Steve Bruschi a month ago, and I was like,
yeah.
you know what? It's just too bad that we're not gay because you're the longest relationship
Right.
I've had.
Be
you know,
so much
like-
easier. Be
It's so much easier. We should do that, dude. Let's take that survey. I want to see where
Yeah.
we go with it.
Yeah. No,
Well,
you
you
and
know-
I
you
will
know-
have a solid relationship, I'm sure.
Well, you know, Jerry Seinfeld on Seinfeld one time said, you know, the great thing about being homosexual is that you automatically double your wardrobe.
Right.
Yeah, that's classic, dude. And we dress pretty much alike anyway. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
all good to go.
Yeah. Well, if only love was that easy. If only being gay
Yeah.
was a choice. This just shows you that being gay is not a choice because it would be so much easier, I think. just to
Yes.
choose.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Well, dude, I'll give you the quick update on my road trip because
Yeah.
before
Yes.
I left in our last podcast here, I told you that I was going to challenge my brother. My brother is a classic conservative, and I shouldn't say classic conservative. He's a new age conservative.
Yeah. Classic would
Um,
be good. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we always have a good time together, and he's really the only person that I know that has been put into that category that I can still hold near and dear to my heart because I feel like I know where his heart is, and I feel like he's just skewed by Fox News and other things that he watches. So I
Yeah.
was telling you that I was going to put him up to look, I'll watch Fox for a month and only Fox, and you watch MSNBC for a month, and we'll see, you know, at the end of this whole thing, what your views are, what my views are.
Yeah. Does
Uh,
it change your perspective if you
yeah.
change your news channel?
Right.
Okay.
And I couldn't get there with him, dude.
You
I
wouldn't do
hate
it,
to
huh?
Say that, dude. But I'll tell you what. And part of my roadblock right away was
Wait, when you
Is
say
I-
you couldn't get there, do you mean you couldn't bring yourself to ask him or he wouldn't do it?
both. I knew that if I brought it up, he wasn't going to do it. I mean, by the way he was talking, that if I, you know, brought it up, that I knew I couldn't get him there. And I'll tell you why. Because we talked about politics a little along the way for the whole week, you know,
Yeah.
and disagreed on a lot of shit. But we were talking about things that were not so much humanitarian issues. We were talking about green energy and global warming and stuff like that. And he had some good points, dude. And I enjoy the conversation when I have it, when it's about that kind of policy type stuff, you know, and it's not based on how we treat people and everything like that. That's when it gets a little tough for me. But I brought up the fact that Anderson Cooper is a fucking douchebag and I hate him. Or not Anderson Cooper. I don't know why I just said that.
Poor Anderson. I don't know.
I really like Anderson Cooper.
Sean Hannity?
Bow tie. Tucker
Carlson.
Yeah. So I said I brought up the fact that I think he is the world's biggest fucking douchebag, and I think he's dangerous for our country. Yeah. And anyone who watches him should do themselves a favor and obviously just shoot their TV. But if they're not going to do that, they should look at this as an entertainment show,
exactly,
and not a news show. You know. Right. And I asked my brother, I said, can you agree with that? That when you watch Tucker Carlson, because he does, which is fucking sickening to me. Yeah. I said, can you agree that it's an entertainment show and you're not taking your news from that? And he told me that no, he thinks he's a great journalist. And that when he watches Tucker Carlson, and I don't know what this says about his mental state on all of this stuff. I think it's right where Fox wants it to be. When he watches Tucker Carlson, he can only watch it for, you know, if it's now, I don't even know how long the show is, but if it's an hour-long show, he can only watch for about 20 minutes, and then he turns it off because he does not want to believe in his mind that that's the world we live in. It's too sad to him. So he watches the first 20 minutes and then turns it off. And I'm like, why don't you turn the whole thing off?
Right.
Like it's an entertainment show that he's just going for ratings. Like he is bringing you no actual factual news. No. And he completely disagreed with me.
Well, wow. but here's the thing though. What I would share with him is something that Fox always says, and that is the primetime lineup for them is not news, it is entertainment.
Yes.
That's
and by the way, Hannity has admitted to that before. And I'll give him some credit for that, where people call him out on not being a journalist, like when he hosts Republican events. And when he gets called out, he says, hey, I'm not a journalist. I'm an entertainer. I'm a talk show host.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is true, by the way. I mean, they're not journalists. They are talk show hosts. So, yeah. But the fact that your brother considers him a journalist, that's scary.
I mean, it's scary. And like I said, it's really scary to me personally, just because I love my brother. Steve was talking about putting out a big Facebook post about our program, and our podcast is, you know, available for download here, and hoping that, you know, we would send it to all our family and friends and past listeners and stuff like that. And I have a little anxiety, dude, about sharing this post with my brother. I don't want it to ruin our relationship. We have such a solid relationship, but I feel like some of this stuff could potentially on the surface make it so fragile. Don't you think he's going to find out? Yes, but I don't know if I should lead him to it. And I'm not saying that we can't do a Facebook post. I just may eliminate him from it. But I think that everything that I'm saying to you guys, I would have this conversation with him.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I would make him feel stupid if I was having this conversation with the world to my friends.
Yeah, I get it.
And I haven't decided yet, and I thought, I'll bring it to Harness and Brewski and just kind of get their opinion on it and see if they understand or if I'm overthinking it, or I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you've been very respectful to your brother in all of these comments. I don't think you've painted him as a moron or anything like that.
No.
So there is that, but you are holding him up as an example of logic that you disagree with and all that. So I don't know. I mean, I've met both your brothers, and I think they're both cool guys, and we have fun hanging out. But I don't know him on that level to know how he would take it. But I completely understand, as we've talked about before, that there are people in my circle in my family that I'm a little hesitant to just say, here's the link, go listen to me talk about everything. And my kids, I mean, I've mentioned them multiple times on here. I've mentioned my ex-wife, I've mentioned her new guy. He's now my BFF, but that's another story.
And I know we all have things that we share in honesty that would be somewhat maybe embarrassing or confrontational. I get that, but I have just seen these politics ruin relationships, over the last 5 years, and I don't have a lot of those. 99.9% of those people I've cut out of my life already. And he's the only one that I've truly kept, and I don't
this
know.
is a tricky thing we're doing, because
some anxiety.
The honesty that we're doing, is I think necessary for good, talk show hosts or whatever we are. And I think it's endearing to the audience. It lets them know who we are. But it is tricky with people that you truly know up close and personal, because there are obviously conversations that you wouldn't normally have with your brother or your kids or your mother that you and I may have. That's good for the show and all that. But I mean, it's part of the vulnerability we're all doing. And, I've told my kids, and we just talked about this recently, I've shown them a couple of clips from the show so they feel like they have some idea of what we're up to and what it looks like and what we're sounding like. But there's a whole bunch of stuff I'm really not ready for them to hear, but it's out there. And at some point they are going to hear it. They are going to find it. Some of these first dates I'm going on, they may find this sooner than I thought. And then, oops, I wasn't trying to let you that far into the looking glass, but so it's a struggle. I get it.
And I don't know if it's a thing where, I just say, hey, you know what? I want to let you know straight out of the cage that, on the podcast, it's not a political program
exclusively.
Yeah. But when we talk about politics, like some of the struggle, I do bring you up in it as my brother. And I don't know if I just tell him that out of the gate, and maybe that makes it a little easier. It's also one of those things when you're talking about a specific person that maybe I've mischaracterized some things that if he were to hear it, he'd be like, no, I don't feel like that at all. You're not getting what I'm saying, like he's not here to defend himself. So I don't know. I think I need to bring it up with them and just say, hey, like, I've talked about you politically, and not in a disrespectful way, but just as, we're on different sides. If you're uncomfortable with that, I'll leave your name out of it, but I have talked about you a little bit before, and if you want to see it, it's there. But
I think the short answer, the correct answer therapeutically and all that, is to talk to him about it. He's your brother. He's not, a coworker or something. And and if he's truly uncomfortable, maybe you can, make it a little more generic. But you never know. I mean, like you said, he may want to get involved. He may be our designated, conservative that can call in and we can bounce stuff off of. I mean, you just don't know how he's going to take it. He may be totally offended or think it's totally cool, and he may understand you're trying to be an entertainer. So we do draw from our lives, and that shouldn't be taken as an insult. It's a compliment, quite frankly. Same thing I do with the kids. I'm not trying to embarrass anyone, but it's real life. So
before we left on the road trip, we had a couple of days with my brother in town. We were over at my mom's eating dinner, and it was me and my wife Rachel and my mom and my niece and my brother. We were having dinner, and after dinner we started talking, and my niece, her boyfriend, his mother, and her boyfriend is very liberal, and Rachel asked her a question like, do you think you're being indoctrinated with liberalism by your boyfriend's mother? Like, she just had a question because she's very liberal and she talks about it a lot. And not that my niece is not liberal, but she's just kind of not political. She doesn't talk about politics a lot.
How old is she again?
She just turned 18.
Oh, so okay, this is the older one. I wasn't sure which one of them, because there's two girls there. That's why I'm asking.
That's still pretty young though to be politically involved. I don't even think I was that political at 18. So
yeah, for sure. So Rachel was asking a question, and Hallie was like, no, I don't feel that way at all. I mean, most of the things she talks about I already agree with. And then my brother started talking, and we started getting into a political conversation. And at one point, everyone else in the room is fairly liberal, including my mother. So I feel like he felt like he was starting to kind of be backed into a corner, and kind of attacked on some level. Yeah, just kind of getting picked on. And he was like, let's just stop for right now. Let's just stop talking about it for right now. Take a little break. And I was cool with that. I understand the feeling, you know. So yeah, we'll just have to see where it goes. But I had a great trip all in all. We had good conversation. And like I said, we talked a lot about policy and politics. Mainly the one I was most interested in was green energy. We were talking about California's law that they passed for the electric cars.
Yep.
And he had a lot of knowledge that I hadn't read on, and I have gone back and done some research on what he said, and he was right on a lot of it. And it was stuff that I hadn't thought about, and it's a bit of a conundrum, dude.
Well, see, this is where I would like to hear from him. But what were some of his points? Because I'm a Californian, and I've been defending that law too.
And so was I. And just in basic, he's like, I'll start this out by, this is him talking.
Yep.
First of all, I'll start this out by saying, like, if it can be done well and it's actually helping our earth, and I don't have to make a ton of like changes to my whole life, I'm all for it. If I can still go from point A to point B without having to, you know, crank a generator for 2 hours, you know, like, I'm all for it.
Yes. I've heard that a lot too. Hillary used to say, I won't be able to haul my horse if it doesn't have enough horsepower.
Yeah.
Like, all of that's being worked out. Okay. Like, you're fine. And the charging distance, all that stuff.
Yeah. His major concern is the energy that it was taking for everyone. If everyone started having an electric car, how much energy it would take. And if they're not doing any upgrades on the grids of our country, the electrical grids, the problems that will create.
Yeah, and that's fair, because California has brownouts, and now we're telling everyone to plug their car in. So I get the conundrum, but
so like, if everyone's doing it, he's like, I don't understand why we're not planning that part first.
But no, see, here's what I would say. But with Newsom setting a deadline, it forces us all to make those changes in enough time. And if we don't, obviously they're going to bump the deadline. But if you draw a line in the sand, people can't keep dragging their feet. So I kind of like that he put a marker out, which somewhere it's like 2035 or something. It's not like next year or something. So I kind of like the ultimatum, because then that does force the grid to get in line by then, and companies to, increase horsepower and travel distance and all that. So
yeah, no, I agree. And he agrees that if it can be done, I'm all for it. But he doesn't see.
We're not going to do it without a gun to our head is the problem.
And the government drags their feet on everything. So, I don't know. I don't know if we'll get it done by then. Like you said, if we don't meet the deadline, Steve Harness in Lake Tahoe knows that if we don't meet that deadline, they'll just extend it. There's no major cutoff. The other thing I found fascinating, dude, we were talking about solar energy and wind farms, because we went by a lot of wind farms, and he was talking about the fact that the wind energy is bad in the regard that all of those windmills that you see, like, we passed a lot of them. They were carrying the just single propellers from those on semis we're traveling.
Yeah.
First of all, they're huge. Like, I had no idea how huge they were.
Yeah.
But down on the ground, I'd seen them up there, but they're made from carbon fiber. And I don't know if you know a lot about carbon fiber, but like, Rachel has
I do.
Carbon fiber bicycle, and they're quite fragile in the sense that, like, if you drop them, you can break a carbon fiber bicycle that's meant to be very light. You have to be careful with it.
But carbon fiber cars, on the other hand, though, they say are stronger than steel.
Yes. They they can be built that way. But these windmills, from what I read, they are strong enough, but they are also made light enough that they do what they're supposed to do: produce energy. They need to get twirling around and everything else, but they only last on average about 10 years. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
And so
is this a problem?
Well, his big concern is, like, do you see for all the wind farms that we have currently, and all these turbines have to go somewhere, they go into landfill afterwards. So, like,
no, they can recycle them. You can cut up carbon fiber and reuse it. It's not going into a landfill.
I would think that is true, but even if it is, of everything we're putting in landfills, that's got to be a millionth of a percentile.
Currently it is, but
Yeah.
if we're expanding on all this and they have to be replaced every 10 years, this is I'm telling you what he said.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. No, I get it, but I'm just saying that seems like a solvable problem.
It
So-
does, but again, why isn't it solved before we're doing it? We're always putting the egg before the chicken, right? In a sense,
We're
So the
lazy
other thing-
Americans that need a carrot on a stick to chase sometimes, or we'll never do it.
yeah.
So
no,
so I found something right now. I just looked it up. I put in how long does a carbon fiber windmill last, and
mhm.
it says how long do wind turbines last? A good quality modern turbine will last for 20 years, although this can be extended to 25 years or longer depending on the environmental factors. And that's on a website called twiglobal.com.
Okay. So yeah, you'll find varying things, and like I said, I'm just kind of passing along what his issues
yeah.
were. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with all of them, but I did like to pause and think about some of these things because I hadn't thought about them before.
Well, and they're good things to pause and think about so that we can be solving them. Hopefully, people
sure.
in positions of authority have thought of them already, but who knows?
Yeah.
If not, we're pointing them out for you. You're welcome.
For sure. Yeah, that's why we're so informative here on the Vocal Minority.
Exactly.
The other, so when we started talking into solar, okay, and the only great point about solar that he made, he's not as into solar as I am. I'm really starting to get into solar, and I wish I could put it on my house. My house is too shaded to put solar on, but he was like, you know what, solar would be fantastic if we could find a way to store energy, and we haven't been able to find out a way to do that yet.
Batteries.
I was going to say, but Tesla's working on that, and the whole Tesla battery wall. If every house had one of those, I mean, I know the technology is not quite there, but that's the whole point of this stuff.
100%, but
implemented and keep it getting better.
Yet. I mean, we can do it with batteries, but how many if we're going to power our country by solar one day,
yeah,
how many batteries is that, and where are we going to mine the lithium from? I mean, there's a whole other scoop of problems that come with it that we haven't figured out yet, and I'm all about moving forward to try and figure some of this out. But the way lithium is mined is unbelievably damaging to our earth. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're trying to
I get it,
fix one thing.
You also don't have to store the power, though. I was just talking to a homeowner that has solar panels on his roof, and he was saying that he basically pays no electricity bill every month because he doesn't store the energy. He puts it back into the grid. So the electric company, the electric company gives him the credit. Yeah,
100%.
So, and I get what you're saying. I hear from conservatives all the time that, like, your electric car, man, like, do you know all the mining that goes in and what it takes to make electricity and all the trucks involved? Like, I get it's not 100% green. That's not the point. We're going for progress, not perfection. And some of these things that come up, you can't tell me it's not more earth friendly to burn electricity than it is to burn dead dinosaurs. And we're on a path now where we're going to try to fix some of these issues that your brother's bringing up, because
100%,
it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I'd rather have 1 step gain than just standing still, burning oil, burning shit out of the ground still. I mean, engine technology has not changed in 100-something years, and obviously now's the time. So I get nothing's perfect, but if you're only going for perfect solutions, it's disingenuous and it's impossible. But I hear it from conservatives all the time. It's not perfect, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, my thing too is that these people who complain about mining for lithium batteries, they'd be the first ones to tell you that they're in favor of fracking.
Right.
and
mine everything else but those. Yeah.
Oh, he's for it. He's all for it. I mean, he's all for mining for lithium. But he was trying to point out the irony and the fact that we're trying to preserve our planet by going green, but at the same time we're raping her of lithium.
I wish there was a clean break.
I don't think he's against it. Say again.
I said I wish there was a clean break we could make, but it's just not possible. We're trying to shift major technologies. There's going to be, there's going to be problems to get solved, and
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was going to say, when electricity was invented, there was a lot of people that made their living filling street lamps with oil. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to put those poor people out of business. Well, yeah, but that's progress. I'm sorry. We're
Yeah,
putting miners out of business. Yeah, we shouldn't be sending humans under the earth for much longer to dig shit out. Maybe we
Yeah.
can improve on that. Maybe you can get a better job working on one of those wind farms. So every 10 years you can throw the turbine into the
I mean,
You know,
he had all kinds of stuff against the wind farms, and I was just like, oh my gosh, dude.
They
He was
caused
like,
did you talk about the birds? Did he mention the birds?
No, he's over the birds. He didn't talk about the birds, which I figured he was going there.
Did he say they cause cancer like Trump told us all?
No, he did not.
Okay.
But he did say, do you have any idea what those wind farms do to housing prices? You ever been next to one of those? I've got a buddy who lives next to one, and it is loud, and it's a constant noise of
Yeah. Sure. We should
and I'm
ban
like,
airports too,
I
because
get it,
living next
but-
to an airport sucks. We should ban highways. Living next to a highway sucks. We
Yeah,
should
I'm
ban
like-
factories, because living next to a factory sucks.
Yeah, and I'm like, but why we're gonna put them out? We should put them out somewhere where I'm not gonna buy a house
Right.
next to one. You know what? There's plenty of people that buy a house next to the big power plants and shit like that. I'm not gonna buy one, and maybe it's cheaper to go do, and someone can go do that, but I'm not gonna buy it. I don't care about that as
Yeah.
much, you know.
So here's my argument against this. So there's a big wind turbine near me, and the wind people thought so much of the land that they built a very large casino right next to it. So if that was going to make that much noise and be that disruptive, Wind wouldn't put billions of dollars to build this massive casino, Encore Boston, that they built.
Yeah.
Look, a casino's a great thing to put next to there because you're inside, you're rocking out, you're playing games. Like who cares, right?
But the thing about Encore is that it's right on the Mystic River, and they have a whole outdoor area, but they do a lot of events and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So-
listen, there are certain things that go better next to a wind farm or an airport than other things, but this is also supply and demand. If somebody wants to buy 100 acres and build a wind farm, they must think that that's more profitable than building a subdivision. And where
Yeah.
I live in California, Nevada, the wind farms are in the middle of nowhere. When I drive by them, there's no subdivision next door. And if there is, again, like this is just economics, right? And most
Yeah.
conservatives would say that that's a good thing, like let the economy dictate it all. Well, okay.
Sure.
Somebody thought it was a good idea to build a school next to a wind farm. So go talk to them and what economics they were practicing, but doesn't mean we
Yeah.
should ban wind farms or schools.
Yeah,
Yep.
no,
Exactly.
for sure. It's going to be interesting climb with Gavin putting this into place, and other states are already following suit, dude.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it turns out, but we're watching this.
Passed it in Denver.
Oh, good. We're going to be watching this for like 10 years. So it's not, like I said, not happening tomorrow.
And BT dubs, dude. While I was gone, I drove an electric car.
Yeah.
For a full electric car. I used to have a hybrid and I thought it was great and everything, but I drove a full on electric car. Dude,
Tons of horsepower, right?
those things are fun, dude. I mean, they have
It's
so
immediate.
much torque to them. As soon as you
Yeah.
press that pedal, my brother's best friend lives in Denver and he's got an electric car. And by the way, he bought it's a Nissan Leaf, I think is what it's
Yeah.
called. With all the government help on buying that electric car, I think he paid out of his pocket like $2,000 for this thing.
Yeah.
With all the rebates he got back from everything on it.
Yeah.
So this thing's awesome, dude. We got on a straightaway and I got on it and slammed it to the floor. And I mean, this is a Nissan Leaf. This isn't a Tesla, dude.
Right.
And I mean, it put my brother and I both back in our seat, and you had to struggle to get forward in it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was fun.
No, those engines have all the torque and horsepower already. It's the main issue is the battery life and all that stuff. And
They'll tow horses,
Yeah.
no problem, dude.
they make dirt bikes now that are electric, and
Yes.
the whole dirt bike community is just like, I'll miss the noise and it won't be
Right.
as fast.
Smell
Like,
of the oil.
I'm like, get over it, man. I mean, you're going to have less maintenance. You got no gas, you got no oil, you don't have to clean an air filter, you don't have a cooling system. and you get more horsepower. I mean, what's the disadvantage other than you're holding on to nostalgia? And that's no reason to stand in the way of progress.
And we're going to have to figure out where we get rid of these batteries. I mean, that's a big problem that we're going to have to figure out how
They'll be able
and
to
where to get rid of.
recycle them.
Recycle.
You can't recycle them, from what I understand, dude.
Parts of it you can, but not all of it. I get it.
Right.
So I was going to tell you that me being a car guy as I am, Chrysler, well, Dodge is coming out with electric versions of like the Chargers and the Challengers and that sort of thing. And because people were complaining about, well, I like to hear the exhaust of my car and that sort of thing. They've actually,
I read this.
They actually have it so that when you're driving the electric car, when you're stepping on the gas, most cars these days are what they call drive-by-wire, which basically means that there's a current that goes and sends the power to the wheels as opposed to a cable that gets pulled.
Yeah.
Well, this is the same thing. So that when you step on the gas and you're driving, it gives you the sound of the exhaust that would come out of the car, but without the exhaust.
Right.
And the rumble of it. I
And
mean,
they're
they're
doing
it all in.
They're doing that for the electric dirt bikes too, giving it a chance to turn the volume on so it sounds like it. There is a safety thing with that. I've been standing in the street before where an electric vehicle comes up behind me and you have no idea. So, you know, there's a safety thing there, but this whole, like, I just missed the sound of the engine. Like, you know,
Yeah, it was somewhat annoying with this Nissan Leaf when you were, when you're going under 5 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour, there's literally no sound to it, right?
Yeah.
But the Nissan whines.
Oh, that's annoying.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, issues with it, progress, yes, but addressable issues. So we should,
100%. It should be fun, dude.
All right. We got a couple of things we got to get through, and then we got to wrap this up before we hit 3 hours. I don't want to have to split the show again. So
let's do it.
Let's see here. Let me look down my list here. Silver spoons. Let's briefly talk about silver spoons. Do you have the Wikipedia page? All right. So on a previous show, I think it was last week's, that I was saying that I bought a stand-up arcade game for my house. And
here comes Harness with his I was right speech.
What? Why would you assume I would bring up a topic that I'm right on? Well, maybe I'm here to eat humble pie.
Okay. No, please. I knew exactly when you asked me to look it up, why you were asking me to look it up.
All right. So my assertion was that on the show, that the dad who had this mansion with all the toys and the stand-up arcade games, which was the vibe I'm going for here in my house, I said that he was a toy maker, a toy inventor. And
toy tester? Didn't you say toy tester?
I think I said toy inventor.
Okay.
And that's what I'm going to stick with. So you guys both told me my 80s pop culture knowledge was often wrong. So
have you confirmed this, or are you just walking into this blind, Stephen?
I'm blind. I'm just putting faith in my knowledge.
So, but I will say this. Yeah. You said he was a toy inventor.
Yeah.
This says that he owns a toy company. That doesn't mean he was, but that doesn't mean he just invented toys himself.
You're splitting hairs. He owns a toy company. Obviously, they have to invent new toys.
That doesn't mean he invents anything.
And that was part of the show. He would come home and be like, "Look, I made this new thing, Ricky. Try it out."
No, that part he didn't do that at
all. Oh, now you're gonna make me go back and watch Silver Spoons.
Yes, I am. On YouTube. Yeah, absolutely.
Young Steve remembers this.
He in this argument. And more importantly, what did you rebut with, Brewski? What did you say he was?
I had said that he was a wealthy guy, and that he had a wealthy father, played by John Houseman. And obviously we know that the dad, the grandfather, was this like stodgy, guy, because he's the guy that did the what do you call it? Was it E.F. Hutton or one of those investing companies? And but I knew that he was wealthy, but I thought he was just kind of like living off his dad's money,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He is wealthy, but he's wealthy because he owns a toy company and he invents toys.
He doesn't say he invents toys.
What a toy
he
company
owns a toy company.
They just put out Rubik's Cubes over and over. Of course they're inventing new toys. And that
was
he's part of the show.
He is not the person inventing the toys.
I don't
he's
think
the money guy behind it. And
his
but
company,
he's not the person.
I know Steve Jobs is not sitting in the factory building the iPhones, but he invented the thing.
Steve Jobs is dead.
I get that. I'm just saying that the head of a company who's developing new products may not be literally in the lab turning the screws, but to say that Steve Jobs invented the iPhone would be accurate. And to say
No, we
somebody that
didn't.
owns a toy
The
company.
engineers did. The engineers did that.
No.
It's getting heated, dude.
Yes.
Come
Heated.
on.
No,
Steve
I'm
Jobs
serious.
invented the. I know he had a team
No,
that
he
helped
did
him
not.
develop it,
He did not.
but he came up with the idea, the concept, and then the whole team, including Wozniak, made it a reality. And
Okay,
that is what
without-
Silver Spoons did too.
No, but without Wozniak, then he wouldn't have had the product.
This is really a hill you're going to die on. That the guy that owns a
Yeah.
toy company is not a toy inventor.
Exactly.
Nick, I'm going to need a judgment on all this. If you own a toy company that creates new toys, are you not by default a toy inventor?
I don't know if I would say that you're a toy inventor, but I will say in the argument of what he was, it leans more toward what Steve said. That
Okay.
it had to do with toys, that he could bring toys home.
What?
Yes.
Well, okay,
there was
so
a
you
toy
know-
company involved.
You know what this reminds me of? So Tom Segura, stand-up comedian,
Yes.
has this bit about his cousin Brian, who always says, "Hey, you want to hear about my new invention?" And then he's like, "Yeah," and he says, "Okay, a cell phone that drives your car." And he's like, "Okay, well, yeah, how do you do that?" And Brian was like, "I don't know."
I don't
But
think we're
he'll
giving the
say-
Silver Spoons dad enough credit here.
No, but
I don't think you know his
it's-
resume as well as you think you
Yeah,
do.
But
The
it's-
guy
it's one thing
invented
to-
toys. He owns a toy
It's
company
one thing-
that
it's
makes new
one thing-
toys.
But he's not an inventor.
You
Oh,
own
good
a
gravy.
broadcasting company.
'cause-
Do you invent broadcasting?
No, but that's not what we're doing. I invent new programming, but the guy owns a toy company. They come out
But
with new
he's-
products, and he would bring them home to show to his son.
But he's not the inventor.
You're splitting hairs. I'm right.
No, okay, like another part of the Segura thing, he says to his cousin, "Oh yeah, well, I came up with an invention. It's a toilet that sends emails and makes turkey sandwiches."
That's
And his
still an
cousin-
invention. He could
But-
get with the
but-
team and develop that, and he'd be credited with coming up with the idea.
But he didn't do the work to get it done, though. The engineers are the
you're
ones
splitting hairs.
that
Who
do that.
invented the iPhone?
The engineers at Apple.
Where'd they come up with the idea? Who gave them that assignment? They're not rogue inventors.
I don't. I just
Come on,
I
spit
can't
it out.
get-
You know
not
I'm
giving-
right.
No, you're not. I'm dying on this.
Steve Jobs invented the iPhone.
No, he did not.
Wozniak and the team developed it, but he came up
Okay.
with the idea.
Okay, but an idea without someone to build it.
I know, but
You
now
got-
you're
you got
debating
shit.
capitalism. I understand the
But you
person
got
that owns.
shit.
I understand the owner of Ford Motor Company did not go out and develop the newest hybrid engine, but it was his company that said, "We want to do this. I have people that can do it. So here's my idea, team. Give me this."
Okay, but that doesn't make him an inventor, though. He didn't do the work.
But
if-
he
if
came
I-
up with the idea. That's part of the
if he-
inventing process.
No, it
It's a
isn't.
key part of it.
All right.
Probably
All
the
right.
most key part of it.
No,
All
it is not.
Judge,
No, making it work is the key
just
part
as
of
a
it.
draw. We got to move on from
This is not a draw. I goddamn you. What are you talking about?
No, I mean this right now. This conversation is going nowhere. Way it's a draw.
All right.
Steve
Silver
thinks he
Spoon's
was
dad
right.
invented toys, and Steve
Whatever.
Jobs invented the freaking iPhone.
No, we
Local
didn't.
minority, big ball.
All right. Well, all right. Just Google real quick. Who invented the
Okay.
iPhone? Tell me what
Wait,
Google
but wait
says.
a second. And by the way, you do know, that when you told me to look up the Wikipedia entry,
Yeah.
you do know that anybody can edit a Wikipedia entry, right?
Oh, are you accusing me of doing that? Come on,
No. But I'm just saying.
He's
that
saying it's not
anybody-
factual all the time.
dude. Come on.
Exactly.
The guy
Anybody
owned a
can
toy
edit.
company. That was my point. He develops toys. I'm Googling who invented the iPhone. And let's see, who is the inventor of the iPhone? The answer is Steve Jobs. So that's
Nope.
the short answer to this stuff. I understand there's a team that develops it, but somebody's got to
Without
give them
the-
that idea.
But without the person to actually make it happen, it's
So
nothing.
some random engineer at Apple deserves the credit for inventing the iPhone.
Yeah, because they're the
Well,
ones
where's
that,
his
that
movie?
did the work. But they're the ones that did the work.
Wow. All right.
I mean, just because, okay, if I came up with an idea for a table and I had a carpenter build it, can I say that I created that table?
Dude, I don't know if you
I-
ever watched Shark Tank, but this is the whole premise. You come up with an idea and then you need the support team to help you develop it. The support team deserves credit, but it's not their idea, it's yours.
Steve Jobs had the patent on
But you
iPhone.
did, but you didn't do the work to make it happen.
I know, but so many products have been developed that way where somebody has an idea and then they need help developing it. Doesn't mean it's still not their idea. It's
Like
who the
Thomas
patent-
Edison, Thomas Edison had an idea for the light bulb, and
I
then
know
he
that's-
made it happen.
Yeah, and
why
that's
you could
great
call
for him.
You could
But
call
I'm
him
s-
an inventor.
Yeah.
I'm just not as liberal with that word inventor.
Well,
He's
that
not
would
as
mean
loose with his language, Steve.
that would mean in modern times that there is no inventor anymore, because almost nobody invents something 100% on their own, builds it, develops it. Like, it's always a team.
Well, the guy who created the Rubik's Cube, you mentioned that, he did that all on
That's
his
not
own.
modern times. I'm talking modern times. If you come up
Modern
with some,
times, he did that. This is the 80s. That's still modern times.
no, I'm talking like technological modern era. Who invented Facebook? You can't say what's his face?
The Winklevoss twins said. The Winklevoss twins did.
Well, so there you go. But
Not
who?
Zuckerberg.
But Zuckerberg is obviously credited, and he's the one that, even if he took part of the idea from someone, he's the one that turned it into what it is now. He's the one that invented Facebook.
But here's the thing, though. The only reason why he's credited with it is because he wrote those guys a really big check, and they were like, "Okay, we'll take our money. We'll see you later," and then they went off.
And Steve Jobs paid his engineers, and Wozniak got his cut. I mean, but still, somebody has to start this inventing process.
Nope. I will die on the hill. It's the engineers that create the product.
Wow. All right.
Yep.
I understand what you're saying, but still, somebody's got to give those people the vision. Engineers aren't just coming up with their own ideas at Apple.
Okay, so let's go back to Edward Stratton from Silver Spoons.
Please.
Okay.
The toy inventor. Yes.
I'm quite sure he was not going into the product people and saying, "I thought about this, and this, and you guys should create this. This is my idea for a car that turns into a robot." I think what it was is he owned the company. People created the toys and built it. He said, "Yes, I like this. No, I don't like that."
I love that we're debating a fictitious company.
Oh yeah, it's fun though. It's good times.
Listen, okay, Nick, please step in here.
Are we still on the air right now, dude?
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I was right, is what Nick said. So I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, dude. All right. What's our next thing that we wanted to discuss? Because obviously we're not going to get anywhere on this.
Let's see. Should we do a little bizarreness with harness?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay, let's see here.
And now it's bizarreness with harness. Bizarreness with harness. Steve Harness. It's
all right, everybody. It's time for bizarreness with harness. That's my last name. Okay, here's the deal. Brewski, you found a brilliant article that you sent over that is disturbing me. We were talking about, we just talked today on the show about the fact that women love tall guys. That's a whole thing in the dating world, even though apparently, what'd she say, 85% of you aren't very tall?
Yeah.
I did not understand the extent of which, I don't know, men are height obsessed. And how?
And you wonder why, if it all has to do with women or.
I think it all starts there, yes.
I sit at a 5'10", which is just, I suppose, average, right?
Yes.
Average height. And I've never been self-conscious about my height at all. And I'm thinking that, I don't know. How tall are you, Brewski?
I'm 5'10", 5'11", thereabouts, whatever. But same height as you, yeah.
Do you think you would have to be at 5'6" or 7"? Would you be self-conscious?
It's tough to say because I've never lived in that environment where I'm at that height. So I'd like to say that given my personality that I wouldn't feel self-conscious, but I don't know because I've never been in that situation as an adult male.
Yeah.
Maybe as like a teenager, but not as an adult male.
And I'll tell you.
No, go ahead,
Nick.
Steve.
Well, I was going to say, this is a good example of privilege because I've never, ever once thought about this. And I'm 6'2", so I don't have to think about it. So it's a good example of privilege. But when I started dating a few years ago, I had so many women tell me, like, oh my gosh, the fact that you're tall is so amazing. And I never even thought about it once. And what do you want to say, Nick? Because then I'll read this article so everyone knows what we're talking about here.
I was just going to say that, I have my shortcomings of my hair is thinning at my age on top. And I don't know. I would rather it not be thin, but I haven't done anything about it. And the story you're about to tell is quite freaking drastic.
Right.
Isn't it scary as hell?
All right. So let me just read some excerpts from this because I had never heard of this. A Las Vegas cosmetic surgeon who specializes in leg lengthening procedures that can extend people's height by 3 to 6 inches told GQ magazine that many of his patients are tech workers. Kevin Dershberg, founder of Limblast X Institute in 2016, and the clinic's business has been booming during the pandemic. Here's how it works. The doctor breaks the patient's femurs, meaning your legs, or thigh bones, and inserts metal nails into them that can be adjusted. The nails are extended a tiny bit every day for 3 months with a magnetic remote control. It can take months to slowly lengthen the bones and for the legs to heal. One software engineer told GQ that he spent the first 3 months after his surgery alone in his apartment and ordered delivery. And in that time, he went from 5'6" to 5'9". The procedure cost anywhere from $70,000 up to $150,000. And the article basically goes on to say that this guy is finding that most of his customers are tech workers because they feel that if they're taller, they'll earn more and get promoted more.
Which is so insane to me, dude. I mean, do you really think that that's true? I can't even fathom it.
Well,
and the pain that those people must go through. I mean, it says in that article that one of the guys that had it done sat in his apartment for a month trying to get over this all by himself and couldn't do anything at all. And that's not for me, dude. I wouldn't do it.
Well, they say that, and I don't know how true this is, but they say that none of the CEOs of like Fortune 500 companies are under 5'9" or under 5'10", and that's one of the things that drives these guys to do that, is because they think that if they're at least 5'9", that they could possibly rise to that particular position in a company, which I think is just absolutely nuts and crazy.
First of all, I would think that once you're in a company, if you're the short guy, you've already been branded that way and are thought of that way, and no one's going to notice that you subtly grew 3 inches and then promote you. maybe going to a brand new company, there's some perspective, but I've had this theory forever that women's magazines, put out this false image of what women are supposed to look like, but it's only women reading them. So women are doing it to themselves. They're projecting this image of what they think the guys want, so they put it on each other. And this sounds like the opposite. Men in companies that, are so obsessed with women wanting them to be tall that they assume they put it on each other, that you're not tall enough, so you're not powerful enough, and I shouldn't listen to you because women don't want you because you're not tall.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think it's all put on yourself. I mean, I think it's all a state of mind, to be honest with you. If I'm a short dude and I'm good at business, if that's what I want to get into, like, self-deprecation in humor goes a long way, and the self-acknowledgement of who you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are. Right. It's the guys I feel like that are putting in shoe wedges to try and be taller. Like that's it's a bit pathetic, and maybe I speak from privilege. I don't know, but
I think that you're projecting that lack of self-confidence on your own. You don't feel tall, so you're projecting that, and maybe that's why you're not getting the promotion, because you're projecting some sort of inferiority. Workplaces 100%. Are usually, especially higher up promotions, about what can you bring to the company? What can you do to make everyone's life easier? What are your qualifications? Like, I can't imagine the upper echelons really give a crap how tall you are as they're promoting you. I think they care how you feel about yourself, though.
100%. Just between the three of us, dude, think about this. With all the bosses that we've had that were in higher up positions, can you think of any of them off the top of your head that were very attractive?
Yeah, no. And short, too.
Yes.
Short, balding, all that stuff.
Yes. Although our most infamous boss, he was very tall, and but he was bald.
Yeah, he was bald. And not a guy that the majority of women would be like, oh my gosh, she is something,
Yeah.
Like,
now, Nick, you have an exception. Your boss is tall and good looking, so I don't know if that's a problem.
I am self-employed, dude. I mean,
I'm not talking about this particular broadcast, but in the other world of radio,
yes,
your boss is a tall, good-looking guy.
Very, very tall. I have a hard time keeping my hands off it.
Right. So I don't know. I find the psychology behind that to be flawed, that they think that's going to help them get promoted. It's like the power of prayer, like it helps you recover quicker. It's not because God's doing something, it's because you have a better mindset.
Yeah, if it gives you more confidence, then you're going to perform better. I think this is one of the stories. What did we say? Do you need to know this or not? With our stories,
yeah, is
news you need to know.
Yeah,
this is something like the whole Harry Styles spit that we were talking about before. Like, you don't need to know about this. I mean, it's so freaking ridiculous that I don't have the bandwidth to give it any of my.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing. I don't understand. How are the muscles stretching the extra 3 inches? How is your skin stretching an extra? Like, there's a lot I don't quite understand about it.
It's got to be so painful, dude. They said that they have a remote control outside of it that is like, it's pushing you up and down. Like, that's crazy. If you think about what women did early on with what are we putting on, Brewski? What are corsets?
Yeah, corsets.
Those were breaking women's ribs because that was the style that men wanted. They wanted that thin waist inside. And I mean, I guess people are willing to go through some bullshit, to be desired and look better, but
just to get a leg up. Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, men, if you're at the upper echelons of a tech company, I bet you're making plenty of money and no woman gives a crap how tall you are. How do you think Tom Cruise ever gets laid? The guy's like, 5'3" or something? I mean, because he's rich and famous. They look the other way.
Yeah, and if you think it is your height that is keeping you from the powerful position at the tech company, maybe it's time for a change in profession, and maybe you're not that great at it, dude.
Right. You're sitting in a cubicle all day anyways. Nobody knows.
Maybe you have a Napoleon complex and you're just being an asshole.
Yeah, you're probably a dick. You're right.
Exactly. So there you go. Yeah. All right. So apparently, guys, if you want to be taller, you can, but I would not recommend it. Just get that promotion, make your money. You're doing just fine. How about just be a nice person? I hear women like that too. So
yeah, they seem to like good listeners.
Some of them,
based off our dating experts.
Yeah.
All right. On the topic of news you need or not, there are 2 news stories going on right now. One of them I feel we definitely need, but you guys can tell me. But let me start with the first one. The Queen. The Queen has died. This has been going on for a week or so, and today was the actual funeral, though, right? So it's back.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, the gentlemen, thoughts on the topic? Do we care about the royals? Does it matter? Does this news people need or not?
I care about more than you do. When I told Steve the Queen died, he basically said, I don't fucking care. I was like, oh man, slow down, bro. I mean, listen,
whenever any nice old lady dies, I feel bad. I don't like old ladies dying, but I don't care about the royals. I never have. I never will. I don't get the obsession. They're not real. They're not even in like charge of anything. It's just soap opera gossip crap. No, they're not. They're not passing laws. There's a parliament that does that over there.
I understand, but it's all influenced by.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
They're not consulting the Queen, please. Dude, it's a titular role. It's a name only.
No, it's really not. I'll tell you what. Like, I don't give a lot of care to it, but the times that I've been to London, my wife is very much into it and the history of the monarchy, and it is quite interesting to see how it's happened and how great this particular Queen Elizabeth II was. She was never meant to be queen, and she did a very good job for her country. She changed a lot.
Well, the thing that I'm always taken with the Queen was that she served in the damn army in World War II. Like, she was working on engines on trucks and that sort of thing.
That's cool.
And
but it doesn't mean the whole world needs to stop.
But
there's a lot of old ladies that died this week that had great backgrounds in their lives. Okay,
but contrast that with the last douchebag that was our president that had his old man get a doctor to write him a note saying he had heel spurs to keep him out of Vietnam.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Of course, and I don't give a shit about Trump, but at least he had a real job that actually did things.
No.
The royals, what do? They don't really do anything. It's just pomp and circumstance. Literally, that's what they are there for.
It's really not, Steve. I don't know why you're saying that. That's not true at all.
Here's the other part about the Queen is that during the Battle of Britain, she was in London the entire time as a teenager, going through all the bombardments, all the bombings, and every night that she would.
Yeah,
she
someone
would
should have
give
given
him
her a
a
real
message.
job. You know, maybe she could have been influential.
Dude, I really, I don't think that you know. I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Come on,
right
what
now.
do the royals really do? They're not actually involved in the government and passing laws, regulations. They're there to set a tone. They're there to be inspirational. They're there for everyone to rally around. Literally, pomp and circumstance is what they're there for.
That is not true, dude. I don't know why you keep saying that.
What laws has the Queen passed?
Here, dude. I'm gonna bring on an expert
None.
for you. Just keep. Yes, they have. Just keep talking for 1 second, okay?
So no, Steve, I won't say that. I won't say that they passed any laws. I won't say that at all.
Good, because they don't.
Because exactly, I'm with you on that. But I think that she meant a lot more to the country than you're letting on.
Oh, no. Listen, I'm not saying that she didn't mean a lot to them, and it's their government and all that. And if I was British, maybe I would care more about the royals. But because of the fact that I'm not British and they don't actually do anything and they're just symbols of the country, no, I've never gotten involved in that gossip and drama and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't care about any.
I'm not cheering on her death. I'm not trying to pile on. I know a lot of people have been very mean about her dying and pointing out atrocities that happened under her, but I'm just saying she's a nice old lady that died. I feel bad for those of you that cared about her. But do we really care? I mean, is that news we really need? Is that really affecting any of our lives any more than if Kim Kardashian died today?
Oh, I can care less about that.
Yes, dude.
I'm just saying she's a celebrity. That's
no,
all
she's
she
not.
is. The Queen?
She's done that. You know what? You know what Kim Kardashian is? She's basically a fuckhole. That's all she is. That's all she's ever been.
She was a bad example. If Arnold Schwarzenegger died today, you know, like somebody that we all admire and they've had a, you know, but
I don't admire Arnie.
They're just symbols of fame and influence. They're not actually doing anything more than being famous.
That's not true, dude. I don't know how you could say that. Have you done any research on that?
I mean, I've been alive. I went to history class. Oh boy!
Is there anyone?
Did you just invite someone in? Yes.
Yes.
Oh boy!
Please.
All right. Would you like to introduce our next guest?
Yes, I would. Are you there, Rachel?
She's connecting. Hold on.
All right.
Is she going to get on camera?
I don't know. Are you there, Rachel? Can you hear me?
Yes, I've been summoned.
Okay. Listen, yes. We are talking about the Queen right now and her death. And I thought it would be a nice time to bring you onto the podcast with us just for a quick opinion. Steve, how do you feel about the Queen's death and what she meant to the country and how important she was?
Right. So as I've been saying, Rachel, I know there are people like you and like my firstborn that love the royals. And I'm sorry for your loss. That's all good. I'm not glad the Queen died. I'm not one of these people piling on her in death. Okay. I'm sad anytime some nice old lady dies. But my point is that the royals don't really do anything more than a titular role in that world over there. They're not actually in the government. They're not actually passing laws. They're just celebrities that are there to set a tone, and that's nice, but I'm not into that. And Nick's saying that the royals do something involving government. So he's brought you on to defend.
I'm saying that they affect it. I'm saying that
they affect it the same way the Kardashians affect things, being celebrities.
Stop it.
Okay, go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, so England is a constitutional constitutional monarchy. So it has both the Queen. You're right, Steve. It is a titular role, or King Charles III now. However, the Queen is the Queen had an audience with. I think it was generally every Wednesday at tea time with every prime minister, starting with her first prime minister, Winston Churchill, where she helped create a steady policy environment behind the scenes. And that's one of the concerns with her loss, is that Charles is a lot more volatile and crazy, and we don't really know. And he's been very vocal about wanting to shake things up. And the Queen, you know, they have, like us, they had that Boris Johnson guy. They have wild swings in their political leanings, etc. But at its heart, the monarchy is the constant, and it's beautiful.
So she's a lobbyist. She meets with the real lawmakers and tries to influence them. Or like Kim Kardashian showing up to Trump to try to influence him, right? It's the same kind of thing.
No,
And that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, she's not actually involved in the government. She's not passing laws.
But she has much more influence than a Kim Kardashian had, dude.
Hey, she got someone out of jail. So I'm just saying,
Understood.
celebrities can influence lawmakers, and that's what the royals do. That's fine.
But I mean, you're talking about Trump. I mean, how hard is it to change his mind? He's a fucking idiot.
That's not the point. My point is she's an influencer. Kim Kardashian is. The Queen's an influencer.
I won't use the
Rachel, come on. Give me a legal verdict here, Rachel. Is she an influencer or is she not?
Number one, let me just say this is very stressful as I'm sitting here writing a brief on
on real things that matter. Yeah.
And my husband says, hurry up. And I said, I need to draw before I appear on Zoom. And he said, it'll be too late. So let me just say, I am not well prepared to offer.
Just give us the short of it, baby.
Okay. Queen's rule. They have cool clothes. They are awesome. And they do take a lot of money from people. And the Queen actually did a tremendous amount of good, maybe not intentionally at first. But if you will recall, colonialism was rampant in the 18th and early 19th centuries. And that has all broken down. And she showed respect for the poor decisions that the previous monarchs had made. And she was the first person to go to India as a reigning monarch, as an independent state. So there was a lot of money done. And instead of just ruling on high, they have created what I think is a very unique system where they have tradition. And there's something to be said for tradition, don't you think?
I do. But again, Nick, you're only validating my point.
You said that she was unimportant and she didn't matter.
I didn't say she was unimportant and didn't matter. I don't think that quote is in there. I'm saying that they're celebrities. They have a titular role, meaning a name only. They're there to be an influencer. It's the same as another celebrity. They may have a little more access or history behind them. And I know the Queen did a lot of great things in her life. That's not the point. The point is it's gossip. They're celebrities over there. They don't really have influence in the government. They don't pass laws. They can go and talk to people. I get that. But so can Kim Kardashian. That doesn't mean that she deserves to be lying in state.
Let me just say, no, and all no. And here's why.
By the way, this is the kind of arguments I have in my household. So
yeah, because we talk about this. This is very, very important. So you cannot, kind of Anglo history is intermittently tied to royalty, monarchs, etc. And then you have break up. I just see Brewski on my screen. No, he's blinking. Okay, so I mean, I know that the Kardashians have had a show and they have some new show. I've never watched a single episode, and they do a lot of commercials. I don't think that anybody could count the number of important critical literature. Going to Shakespeare, how much of Shakespeare was about royalty and the ongoings of the English crown, the Pope, Romans, etc. The religious history is involved in all of that. No one is writing tomes that will be looked at in centuries from now about Kim Kardashian and her fake plastic surgery and her inability to stay married.
I have a whole book of poems written about Kim Kardashian. So I don't appreciate that. But no, listen, I totally understand what you're saying. She's led, she did a lot of important things. She's probably a better role model or influencer than most. But let me ask you a question, Rachel. If our president and vice president were killed right now, what would that do to the state of our government? Would it keep functioning?
Well, I mean,
we'd have to replace them and we have to go through a whole thing because we need those roles filled, correct?
Yeah, we need those roles filled. My only hesitancy is that our democracy has been so utterly destroyed that I don't think we know what happens now.
Counselor, please stick to the point here. I'm asking you directly. Do they have to be replaced? Yes. What would happen if the Queen, the King, the princes, if they all vanished off the face of the earth? Would the British government still be functioning?
Not as well.
Not in its
come on, legal question. Would it still be functioning? Yes, of course it would be. Nobody in the government was lost.
according to, and let me also just say, I actually think that there have been 2 presidents that did not have vice presidents. So you're not entirely correct.
I'm gonna have to Google that one. For the whole term,
yeah.
they didn't have a vice president.
Yeah, I feel like when Kennedy got killed and Lyndon Johnson came, he didn't get a vice president until there was the next election, and then somebody else.
Yeah, but the Speaker of the
a
House
Jackson
would have
or a
stepped in
Johnson.
formally. We can't just leave these things vacant. Someone steps in. There's a hierarchy.
It's just like what's happening right now, dude. With the
No,
Queen.
that's my
King
point.
Charles.
That's
Yeah.
titular. They replaced him for the pomp and circumstance. The government didn't need that role filled in order to keep functioning. If our president dies, you have to fill the vacancy.
They have to fill it there as well, dude. I'm just saying,
No, they don't.
listen, it has to be filled. It's always been filled. It'll continue to be filled. And there is a line of succession with the Queen, the King. I mean, here we are, dude. You just don't care about it because it's not part of your world. And you know what? It's not really part of my world either. But I know that Neo cares about it.
Yeah.
I know that
I'm not trying
Rachel
to take it
cares
away.
about it.
Exactly. I'm not
And I
trying to take it away.
know that the ratings of Princess Diana dying and how many people woke up to see her funeral, there's worldwide people care about it, dude.
Yeah.
And it's not because she's Kim Kardashian.
I'm telling you,
Humanitarians.
what happens every time a celebrity dies? Everyone cares all of a sudden. So the royals are
Don't
just
care.
celebrities. That's all they are. They have no other.
That's
Barack
why
Obama,
people-
a celebrity.
Well, he had a real job though. A constitutionally designated role that we elected him to. And if he had died, somebody would have to step in or our government can't continue to function.
I'm not saying they're the exact same, dude, as the government, but I'm saying that they.
Well, but this is my point, that they're not real government officials. Like, so they're just gossip, and it's gossip I don't care about. So I feel bad for Rachel and for Neo, for those that care. I feel bad anytime a nice old lady dies. I'm just saying, this isn't really news we need per se, because your life will be fine whether she's alive or not.
The interesting thing is, do you know that this her funeral was the most widely viewed? I mean, I can't remember what the statistic is, but basically the entire world watched because it has such import on the world and the constancy of British policy and procedure, etc. And
Totally
I'm no scholar of how the British Parliament works, but I just will say that, Nick's, after he gets off today, his job is he got to pick between the Crown or the Tudors. And we're starting with the Tudors. And he finally was asking this morning, he said, "Oh, that's fascinating. That has to do with religion and it's all linked. This is why you watch that stuff." And I said, yes. And so Nick is going to turn into Neo and me.
Well,
I
you're kinda
also
making
find
my-
the Tony Danza show fascinating, so
Yeah,
don't
but
get too excited.
You're
I would
making my
pick the
point,
Crown
though,
myself.
that this is a TV show that everyone's enjoying, basically. Like, it's not real government, it's entertainment.
All right. Well, we've gotten an expert's view on this, and we appreciate your opinion, Steve.
Rachel, I appreciate you subjecting yourself to this. So thank you for dropping actual important things to
Yes.
come talk about the gossip of the Brits.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let me just say,
Yeah.
next time you guys call me in, make sure it's something I'm not just a fan of, an actual expert. Because this was hard. But
I bet.
go,
Well, it's
Hey,
not
trust
supposed to
me.
be easy.
One of these
God
days,
save the
we're going to
king.
have you as a guest to discuss some other legal issues once we've cleared other topics up. So we'll have you on for some real hard hitting information. Since Rachel is a lawyer, if we didn't point that out to anyone.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I did
she's
a
my
really-
wife, too. Just so
Oh,
you
that
know.
too. Yeah.
she's not impartial. She's she represents her clients. But
Yes.
that's another story for another time.
Exactly.
God save the king.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. We
All right.
appreciate it.
Love you, baby. Thank you. Bye.
I'm pretty
There you
sure.
go, dude. That's what I was trying to tell you.
No, you're making my point. I get that a lot of people care about it. That wasn't my point. My whole point was I get that some of you do, but a lot of us don't because it's just gossip. It's not a real thing. It's not as if the head of state, the literal head of their government, died. But a lot
You
of
think-
people think. And by the way, most people don't know this. You understand that most people think that the queen and the king actually run that
Yes.
country, right?
Yes, I
So,
understand. But do you think Halliburton makes laws? Do you think that
You're making my point again? She's just a lobbyist. That's all.
Well, even if she's a lobbyist, she's a very powerful lobbyist.
That's
dude.
fine. And Kim Kardashian got a woman released from prison, so she's a powerful lobbyist
stop with
too.
Kim
Stop with the
Kardashian.
Kardashians,
She's
dude.
a
You're
fucking,
killing me.
she's a fuckhole. That's all she is.
That's the point
Wow,
I'm trying to
Brewski.
make. That some
She's
celebrities
somebody's
are
daughter.
influential doesn't mean we should be
I don't
holding
care
them
if
up.
she's somebody's daughter.
Brewski's crabby today, dude.
No,
Are
I'm
you
not crabby.
Listen,
No.
there's a
I'm not
new
crabby.
commercial that's on TV, and I want to know if you guys have seen it because it's the greatest thing ever, and I can't stop fucking talking about it. Have
Okay.
you seen the new Shingles commercial where it's like you want to play golf? Shingles doesn't care. You want to go on a date? Shingles doesn't give a fuck. So I'm just telling everybody that from now on, when I don't know what else to say, Shingles doesn't fucking care. Okay?
Shingles does not care that the queen just died. Okay.
No, she doesn't.
I thought you were going to talk about like roofing.
Oh no. Shingles in the disease.
I know.
Shingles.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
virus.
You lost me. All right, guys, we got one last thing to discuss, and then we got to wrap the show up, or it's going to become a
Please.
two-parter. So, I don't know if you guys saw this in the news today. I'm just going to declare right ahead of it that we need to know this and hear this.
Okay.
You know that Biden told everyone yesterday that the pandemic is over.
Not heard.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that. Have you, Brewski?
I read that he said that. I don't agree.
Why is this not making bigger news? The president, whether he's right or wrong, and let me read his exact quote because I don't want to be
Please.
misleading because he's not trying to say it's no more concern, but he said,
This
quote,
was yesterday?
yeah,
Yes.
he
It
was at a
was.
press event or maybe it was a CBS interview. Yeah, he's doing a segment on 60 Minutes. He said the
with
quote,
Scott Pelley, I think. Yeah.
he said, the pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it, but the pandemic is over. I've been waiting 2.5 years to hear somebody in a control say that. And I know Trump tried to say it on day one, but I'm talking like we're 2.5 years into this, and the president just said, pandemic's over, everyone.
Do you believe it?
Well, looking around my life, it's quite obvious that COVID is not as deadly as it used to be. It's not. We don't have this problem of it overwhelming hospitals and spreading like wildfire. It's now seems to have become what we at the beginning wanted it to be, some sort of manageable, flu-like disease floating around that, it's contagious and it's going to suck if you get it, but you're probably not going to die. And we have vaccines and treatments. And so just like the flu's not gone, COVID's not gone, but to call it a pandemic does seem to be over. And now the president, who does choose his words wisely and would have backed off it by now if he misspoke, just told us all, pandemic's over, everyone.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Steve, I think that when we're speaking of the pandemic, I think that it's not just the disease, but everything that surrounds it and how it's affected our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the president was saying, is that as much as we want everything to be back to normal, I think he's saying that we are at that point. Not that the disease is completely gone, but that we can move on and our lives can be as normal as it possibly can be in a COVID world.
Yeah.
Don't we find that exciting, dude? I haven't heard it. I mean that's
come on.
crazy.
This is major news.
Yeah, give us a little fanfare, dude.
The pandemic is over, people. Good
Jeez.
gravy.
Oh my gosh, dude, that took a long time. That was a long couple of years, dude. Life-changing years for everyone involved, whether they lived or died. They knew people who died. Their lives were affected.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's not all over the news right now. I'm not a guy who completely stays out of the news by any stretch of the imagination. I haven't heard that.
I saw this one article and just thought, like, why is this not being talked about more? And it's a problem for Fox News because they've been saying it's over for years. So they can't now refute Biden saying it's over because they want it to be over. So I don't know why it's not making bigger news, but now we're telling the masses the pandemic is fucking over.
I think
that's a major, major historical milestone.
I think that
Go ahead,
interview
Brewski.
I think that interview is supposed to air this coming Sunday. And I believe once that does air on 60 Minutes, I think at that point that's when you're going to really see the actual reaction for it.
Yeah, well, let's wait and see. Because Fox News should be all for this. Finally.
Well, how long do you think it will take for Fox News to be against this and talk about how irresponsible it is that he
Right.
made the statement? Do you think that'll happen?
Yeah, they're probably now going to become the pro, COVID. Like, no, the pandemic's not over, everyone. We should be taking this seriously. That's what Fox News always is. They're on the other side of whatever, the liberals or logic is telling us all. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But I'll be curious to see how the Tuckers and the Hannitys deal with this, because this is a declaration we all want.
Yes.
So pandemic's over. Okay.
Let's call it good, dude. I'm out and about once again. I have a you know what, this is interesting because I have a doctor's appointment sometime this week, and my doctor set this up, and it's for people who are on who are immunocompromised or on medication who make them that way. And it is a consultation with a doctor about this new medication that they're giving to people who are on these medications that is some sort of therapy for it. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm going to tell them pandemic's over. I don't know why we're having this conversation, dude. I mean, unless it's still, have you seen the death rates of COVID lately?
I have not.
COVID specific?
No.
I mean, we don't see those anymore. I guess it's just.
Which tells me it's not newsworthy. They're down. It's low. So that's good. That's what we all wanted. Someone said this to me at work the other day. I guess the pandemic's over. I'm like, yeah, that's what we've all been striving for, to get it to the point where it's manageable. And it seems like that's where we're at.
It seems like that's where we're at. If Biden says it, I mean, like you said, he chooses his words wisely and doesn't just speak off the cuff like other people. And there's got to be something behind it.
Well, so I just Googled COVID death rate, and as of September 18th, 2022, there were 0 deaths, and the 7-day average was 1.
Well, so there you go.
Is that worldwide or country?
Country, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So there you go. And like he said, it doesn't mean that COVID is gone and there's not some issue still. It's like any other highly contagious sort of virus.
Sure.
But yeah, death rates are down to non-existent apparently, and
we're on to monkeypox, dude.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
This is something we should all be like rallying around and like cheering. Like a historic pandemic is now over.
Yes, 100%, dude.
Initiating shutdown sequence.
Exactly. All right. Was that you, or was that Zoom yelling at us?
I think that they're just trying to end the vocal minority podcast.
Initiating shutdown sequence.
All right. We do need to wrap it up. Here's the deal, everyone out there. The podcast is live. It's all over all the major websites. Some of you have been finding it, but those of you that have, please do us a favor and help spread the good word. Everything is on YouTube. All the video that we've been filming here, all the episodes, some interviews, some highlights, it's all on YouTube and on all the social media, all that stuff. Just search out the Vocal Minority, Nick and Steve, and find it. And if you're listening, we thank you, and help us spread the good word so we can build this thing up.
This is the last show for perhaps ever. I don't know.
No, I don't think it's we'll be back, dude, for sure. I mean, our goal is to do this once a week, right? That's how we're doing this.
Yeah, we're starting off once a week, and as the audience builds, the show will build, and we'll do it more frequently. But yeah, we're in this weird stage where we're putting out all this good content, but it's just sitting there because no one knows it. And although it's funny, I've got this map. It shows me who's listening to the actual podcast, not YouTube. But we had talked about the fact that the show originated in Seattle, and we were syndicated into Wichita and the Baltimore, Maryland area. And those are where our listeners are right now. For some reason, Northern California, and then we have listeners in Seattle, Wichita, and Baltimore. Like, these are people that have apparently found us. That remember us from the old days.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have 2 international listeners. We have somebody that just came up in Vancouver, British Columbia, and Belgium. Somebody in Belgium is listening.
We're
to us.
huge in Belgium,
right?
Yes,
just like singles,
dude.
Man. We're breaking big in Belgium right now. Literally, we are. So
yeah,
we're live. It's out there. Help spread the good word. Find us on social media. Thevocalminority.net is our current website because the other one never got launched. So if you go there, we've got links to everything, and help us spread the good word. It's back.
I was out of town all last week, and Steve has been working furiously, and I appreciate all the hard work that you put into the show to get us up on the platforms and everything else.
Thanks, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a labor of love and keeping me from spiraling into darkness. So I've been doing a lot of editing, learning a lot about TikTok. I spelled our name wrong on TikTok. I'm sorry about that. I hit save, and then they only let you change your name every 30 days. So I fucking switched the I and the R in minority. So
funny, dude.
it's all there. I'll change it in 27 days. you can still find us. The main page is spelled correctly. Just our handle is spelled wrong. So, yeah.
Thank you for your diligence and hard work this past week, Brewski, of looking things up and finding articles. You guys stepped in and did great. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right, champions. We appreciate you all listening.
Champion.
And
now you are a champion.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Oh,
So yes, until next time. Peace.
Vocal Minority 9/19/2022. Done.
That was lovely.